Chapter 77. Lu Cheng couldn't really let a chubby person like Jiang Fei run 10 kilometers in one go during his first training. That would kill him. The destination was the same, but the method could be adjusted. He let Jiang Fei run until he couldn't bear it anymore. Then he would stop and take a rest. He would do yin-yang stance or condensation stance to train his body coordination and improve his concentration. After more than an hour of running and stopping, they finally arrived at San Li Ting People's Park. Jiang Fei was so tired that he was sweating profusely. He had to wipe his sweat from time to time, otherwise his eyes would be covered by it. If it weren't for Lu Cheng's example, he would have gone on strike. This kind of training was really inhumane. At this time, the sky was already bright. The office workers who were still on holiday were all out. There were many breakfast stalls near the park. Compared to the dark, cold, and silent environment when Lu Cheng first left home, the environment here was like returning to the human world. Jiang Fei found a grocery store with red eyes. He bought 2 bottles of water and gulped them down. After a long time, he finally felt better. He looked at Lu Cheng as if he was looking at a monster. "Cheng, why don't you breathe? Although I have rested all the way, I'm still king tired. This distance." Lu Cheng looked at him with disdain. "I ran more than 20 kilometers in the morning exercise. Why don't you participate in the extreme long-distance running?" Jiang Fei blurted out. Lu Cheng joked, "I'm not bragging. I can run so fast that they all call me daddy. Well, in fact, after I started the martial arts training, I also awakened the endurance talent. This is enough to be called abnormal. No wonder. Then what's the use of using you as a role model?" Jiang Fei's expression was dull. He was speechless for a long time and felt deep regret. Then he said, "Let's start the martial arts training." Since he was abducted here, he should at least gain something. He hoped that this kind of training could help him lose weight successfully. He hoped that he could learn a thing or two and show off in front of girls in the future. Lu Cheng patted his martial arts suit and pointed to the gate of the park. "Go in and find a quiet place. It's convenient for you to meditate." All right. Jiang Fei was indeed forgetful. He had already regained his senses. The 2 of them entered the park and saw that under the shade of the trees, beside the lawn, and by the lake, there were trainers in groups of 2s and 3s. Some of them had silver-white hair and were practicing Tai Chi. Some of them were nimble and were training with each other. Some of them were stretching their bodies and practicing. It was really a lively scene. Damn, I didn't know that there were so many people training in Xiushan. Under the light of dawn, Jiang Fei was stunned. This was the first time he came to the People's Park at 7 in the morning. "Let's go deeper." Lu Cheng glanced around, looking for a quiet place. Walking along the path beside the artificial lake, the 2 of them became quieter and quieter. However, they could still see people around them, and it was obvious that they were more professional. At first glance, it was obvious that they were martial artists practicing in the morning. Some were under the guidance of masters, some were urging each other, and some were practicing alone. From time to time, they could hear the crisp sound of inch force. If I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have known that there are so many martial artists in Xiushan. Lu Cheng glanced at him. This was only one of the parks that was suitable for training. Yeah, they seemed to be very good at training. Jiang Fei tried to stretch his neck to look. Lu Cheng patted him and said, "Don't look like that. Be careful not to break the taboo. According to the rules in the martial arts circle, looking at other people's training without permission will make you enemies." Geezer sure had specifically explained this to him before, so that he wouldn't get into trouble due to his youthful vigor and curiosity. Of course, martial artists wouldn't be too harsh on ordinary people who occasionally passed by and glanced at them. Jiang Fei retracted his gaze and said with emotion, "Didn't they say that all the martial arts dojos and gyms in the city were closed? Why do I feel that they all came here? They can stop their business, but they can't stop their own training. Music never leaves the mouth, fist never leaves the hand." Lu Cheng imitated Geezer Sher's tone and said, "These must be the true disciples of their respective martial arts dojos." While talking, the 2 of them came to the other side of the artificial lake. When they were looking for a quiet place, Jiang Fei suddenly pointed at a group of people in front of them and said, "Qin Rue." Rui? Isn't that a student of the amateur rank in the high school class? Lu Cheng followed Jiang Fei's finger and saw that among the group of people wearing blue martial arts suits with white edges, there was a big guy who was more than 9 meters tall. He had short eyebrows, a high nose, and coarse hair. It was Rui. Because of his height, this guy didn't participate in the seat rotation and sat in the last row of the class all year round. It was said that he joined the Gushan Martial Arts School in the 3rd year of middle school and mixed in with the same group of people in other classes. He had some reputation in the whole grade, but his grades were getting worse year by year. All he wanted was to get a high school diploma and leave a way out. Noticing the pointers and hearing Jiang Fei's voice, Rui said a few words to his companions and walked over. "Fatty Jiang, you've put on weight again." Rui was stunned at first, but then he laughed at him kindly. Jiang Fei spread his hands and said helplessly, "That's why I'm here to train." "Hey, do you know this guy next to me?" "Why not? He's Lu Cheng. I always copy his homework." Rui looked at Lu Cheng with a smile. "I heard that you've been admitted to Songqing University." "Not bad, you look so energetic." Lu Cheng laughed. "You're talking as if I used to be very dispirited. I didn't expect to see you here. I've been training here in the mornings for the past 6 months. It's your first time here." Rui was quite happy to see an old classmate. "So it's very likely to meet certain classmates in certain places." Lu Cheng suddenly understood. And the easiest place to meet a high school classmate was the repeaters in the number 1 middle school campus. "You've been here in the past 6 months?" he asked subconsciously. Rui said casually, "This is extra training. I used to train at night because I had to study during the day." "Why do you want extra training? Are you going to participate in the ranking event after the new year?" Jiang Fei asked curiously. Rui's expression suddenly became excited. "It's not the ranking event, it's the preliminaries." "Preliminaries?" Lu Cheng and Jiang Fei both knew what the preliminaries meant. It was the entrance to the professional martial arts circle. "Yes, the preliminaries. In any case, Xiushan is a famous place in the province, but we haven't had any forces or teams in the professional martial arts circle, so we're at a disadvantage in some aspects. In fact, it's not like there haven't been any professional masters in our city. We even have masters in the Danchi state, but we haven't seen any organizations, and we've all gone our own way. Therefore, the professional masters are either old and not as strong as they used to be, or they've left Xiushan and joined other teams." Rui started talking nonstop. For the professional martial arts masters who hadn't reached the physical invulnerability state, they could fight occasionally when they got older. But they couldn't fight in the preliminaries all year round. Wouldn't it be better to be a judge, teach disciples, be a guest, or mingle in the police circle? Jiang Fei was interested and hurriedly asked, "So this time someone organized it? A rich man sponsored it?" Rui nodded hard and said, "It's not someone, but the government directly stepped in and gave them subsidies. They set up a martial arts foundation, specially hired people to manage and organize it. They invited all the martial arts clubs and sects in Xiushan to participate and select masters to form teams to participate in the preliminaries. In 10 years, they'll strive to enter the 3rd level, the North-South Division." Speaking of this, he laughed. "But where there are people, there's Jianghu. No one in the martial arts circle in Xiushan wants to take the lead." So the person in charge of the Martial Arts Foundation plans to select the masters through actual combat in the 1st year, and lets several masters to participate in the preliminaries on their own. The one who goes the furthest will get the leading position in the 2nd year. At that time, they'll invite a professional 9th pin or even professional 8th pin master from Xiushan to be the leader and try to get some of the unique martial arts skills rewarded in the preliminaries as soon as possible. "You're one of the masters?" Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Rui gave him a thumbs up. "Got it. Gushin Martial Arts School, Liheng Martial Arts School, and Fuguang Martial Arts School are one group. Mingwei Martial Arts School, Shifeng Martial Arts School, and several sects are another group. Those are my senior brothers and sisters, and they're all very strong." He pointed at the group of martial artists who were wearing blue outfits with white edges. They were slowly practicing their martial arts routines. Lu Cheng glanced at them and chatted for a while. Then he said goodbye to Qin Rui and went to a secluded place to practice. Cheng, in your opinion, how strong are they? Jiang Fei asked curiously when they were far away from the group of martial artists in a small forest. Lu Cheng smiled. They're just practicing the routines. How can I see through them? I don't have fiery golden eyes. But since they have the confidence to participate in the preliminaries, they should be at least of amateur 1 or 2 pin. That was the entry level of the professional martial arts circle. Even if they weren't of professional 9th pin, they shouldn't be too far away from it. Otherwise, it would only bring disgrace upon themselves. Amateur 1 or 2 pin. That's pretty good. Jiang Fei sighed with emotion. In his impression, Qin Rui, who was of amateur 4th pin in the second half of his senior year in high school, was already very prestigious in the circle of all schools, let alone amateur 1 or 2 pin. After sighing with emotion, he looked at Lu Cheng and asked, Cheng, what's your level now? I haven't participated in the ranking event, so I can't say for sure. But according to my estimation, my strength should be around this range. Lu Cheng answered modestly. After all, the right time, right place, and right people were needed to fight against professional 9th pin fighters. Around this range? Jiang Fei was stunned. He knew yesterday that his buddy was good at martial arts, but he didn't expect him to be so good. He could even represent Xiushan in the professional martial arts preliminaries. He couldn't even beat me half a year ago. Lu Cheng moved his body. Stop chatting. Let's start practicing. Jiang Fei was excited at the thought of Lu Cheng's strength. He stood up straight and said with a military posture, Okay. Lu Cheng first taught him the kung fu of meditation and explained the essence and key points of concealment of spirit and qi. He let Jiang Fei try it first, while he practiced yin-yang stance and condensation stance again. After practicing meditation, he opened his eyes and started to practice the moving stance, which was the training routine. It could train the muscles from different aspects and adapt to some force exertion skills. It could make the body more vigorous and strong. When he was in the martial arts club, the muscle strength measurement room was more professional and more targeted. Therefore, Lu Cheng was more inclined to the body and force exertion skills in the training routine. After a round of practice slowly, he looked at Jiang Fei next to him and saw that his eyes moved. So he smiled and said, Can't stand anymore? Are you tired and irritated? Yeah, this meditation is so boring, and there's no progress at all. Jiang Fei opened his eyes immediately. Lu Cheng asked him about his feelings and told him his own experience. Then he said, If you don't have outstanding talent, it's normal to practice meditation for half a year before you can get started. Don't worry, it's okay now. Can I get started in half a year? Jiang Fei's focus was obviously different. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched and said, Most people who can't get started in half a year lose confidence and stop trying. Of course, there are also people with extraordinary perseverance. There was once a mighty one with physical invulnerability who took 3 years to master meditation. Well, you can practice the moving stance with me first. He taught Jiang Fei what he had just practiced. While he explained the problems, he seemed to have a better grasp of the moving stance. Teaching and learning helped each other. When Jiang Fei was barely able to practice a set of moves, he began to practice his fighting style at the side. Single whip, blast punch, hammer punch, leg whip, chain attack, continuous snapping, surging wind, made Jiang Fei stop in shock and watch with wide eyes. Even if he didn't know the kung fu, he could feel the fierceness and madness in it. He felt that he couldn't take a punch or a kick. He quickly came back to his senses and practiced the moving stance more diligently. In the end, Lu Cheng asked him to try meditation again, while he thought about how to integrate the power of flame into his martial arts. Although the flame was very weak, it was still a flame. It might have a miraculous effect if it burned the opponent at a critical moment. P.S. Don't forget the recommendation ticket. Chapter 78. In the morning mist, Lu Cheng glanced at Jiang Fei, who was standing with his eyes closed. He rubbed his thumb and index finger, and an orange-red flame flickered in the chilly wind, as if it would be extinguished at any moment. Bam! Lu Cheng shook his arm and tightened his muscles. He lashed out like a whip, tearing the airflow and suppressing the sound of the wind. Then, the flame was extinguished. It was extinguished by the wind caused by the relative movement. Judging from the current strength of the flame and the difficulty of maintaining it, I can't strike first and then attack. I have to match the two together. Lu Cheng confirmed a previous guess. He didn't name his own special ability, lighter, purely out of bad taste. It also contained an important characteristic, which was that the activation of the flame required a process of activating the heat flow in the body. It couldn't purely rely on one's will. It was just like how a lighter had to have a strike action. Usually, Lu Cheng would use the action of rubbing his fingers to ignite the flame. However, it was obviously not suitable for actual combat unless he had the right time, place and people. After some consideration, he planned to combine the force of an ordinary attack with the ignition of the flame. He adjusted his breath slightly, raised his right arm, twisted his waist, and threw a downward punch. The flame was ignited and wrapped around his fist. However, it was immediately extinguished by the wind while he was chopping down. Extinguished. Lu Cheng scratched his head awkwardly and glanced at Jiang Fei again. Seeing that Jiang Fei was so focused that he didn't notice it, he was relieved. He couldn't use this thing to embarrass himself before he succeeded. After some careful consideration, he analyzed the reason for his failure. He found that the normal force of the fist started from the moment of the punch and accumulated kinetic energy in the process. In other words, the flame had already been ignited when the punch was thrown out. The current strength was obviously not enough to withstand the long convection. The force of the fist when it is about to hit the enemy is just a short burst of 1-inch punch, right? I should be able to combine the force of the fist with the ignition of the flame. Lu Cheng thought about it several times. He shook his arm and suddenly shot out like a big gun. He tried to drive the heat flow in the last burst of 1-inch punch. Bam! In a short burst of crisp sound, a little flame jumped out and covered the surface of Lu Cheng's fist. Then it hit the assumed target. The flame shook and was quickly extinguished. However, Lu Cheng's face showed a smile. He had basically achieved his goal. Although this kind of flame was not harmful for the time being and might not even be able to ignite clothes, it could still make the opponent feel pain at the critical moment. Lu Cheng could make a mistake and seize the opportunity. If he used it well, it was possible to defeat a professional of professional ninth pin. Of course, it was a Saint Seiya move. Once it was used in front of the same opponent, it would be difficult for it the second time. He could only rely on surprise. After more than a day of thinking, Lu Cheng finally had an idea on how to strengthen his power of blaze. That was to strengthen his own physique. This time, under the fire force of the Jindan, he was almost ruined, which meant that his body was not strong enough. But when he had the body of a professional ninth pin or even Danchi stage, it should not be a big problem for him to withstand that level of backlash. At that time, he could try to absorb the ice force and fire force of the Jindan in a controlled manner. While improving himself, he could gradually digest this hidden danger. Of course, this process was full of danger. He had to be very careful. If he accidentally drew out the force beyond the limit, it would be a big joke. Collecting his thoughts, Lu Cheng practiced the 24 blizzard strikes again several times. He tried to integrate the flame power into the 1-inch punch. When he was familiar with it, he looked at Jiang Fei and said with a smile, "How is it? Do you feel the concealment of spirit and qi?" Jiang Fei opened his eyes and said with a sad face, "No." Then he pretended to be angry and said, "It must be because of you. How could I meditate when you were fighting next to me?" An old monk can meditate when there is someone next to him in the bridal chamber. Lu Cheng said jokingly, "Let's go. You've almost reached your limit today. Let's go out for breakfast and then go back home." Jiang Fei breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Do you think I'll be so sore tomorrow morning that I have to rely on perseverance to get up?" Lu Cheng smiled and said, "You don't have to wait until tomorrow morning. You'll feel the soreness later, but you'll get used to it after practicing for a few more days." When they passed by the Gushan Martial Arts School's morning exercise place again, Qin Rue suddenly shouted, Fatty Jiang. Lu Qing. They stopped and saw Qin Rui trotting closer. Qin Rui said with a smile, "There's something I need your help with." "What's the matter?" "We're two poor students. What can we do?" Jiang Fei was quite witty. He first blocked the possibility of borrowing money. Qin Rui said with a smile, "It's not a big deal." "Fatty Jiang, aren't you helping to organize this class reunion?" "Yeah, what's the problem?" Jiang Fei was confused. Lu Cheng was also confused. He did not know what Qin Rui wanted to ask for help. Qin Rui pointed to the people of the Gushan Martial Arts School and said, "Just now, the disciples of the Mingwei Martial Arts School came to challenge us. They want to learn from each other and increase their actual combat experience. They don't want to embarrass Xioshan in the preliminaries. As for the time, they set it the day after tomorrow and let us choose the place. I want to attend the class reunion that day, so I propose to go to the north court of the conference villa of the spring scenery field. At that time, can you ask the homeroom teacher to organize and let the students come to cheer me on and support me?" Jiang Fei suddenly understood and said, "You want to be in the limelight and show off in front of your classmates?" "A little bit." Qin Rui said with a smile, "More importantly, we want to publicize the team that will participate in the preliminaries after the new year and make a name for ourselves. If everyone's performance is similar, the person in charge of the foundation will definitely take the popularity into consideration. Don't worry, we're in the north court and the class reunion is in the south court. We won't disturb everyone." The north court of the conference villa of the spring scenery field had a martial arts arena, while the south court mainly had leisure facilities for ordinary people. Jiang Fei roughly understood Qin Rui's idea, but he didn't want to take it all on himself. He said sincerely, "Then I'll help you to tell the homeroom teacher. I can't decide what her attitude is, but we've all graduated. Who will pay special attention to her as the class monitor. You can come and shout a few times, and a bunch of guys who have nothing to do will definitely join in the fun." The homeroom teacher was not referring to the head teacher, but the class monitor for 3 years and the organizer of this class reunion, Qiu Hailin. "Yeah, and Old Wu will also be there. He's a fanatical martial arts fan. How can he not go and have a look? With him as the head teacher taking the lead, you don't have to worry about the other students not cheering for you." Lu Qing echoed. He understood Qin Rui's mentality very well. Once upon a time, he had also yearned for someone to cheer his name, and this was finally realized in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Moreover, it was more than fulfilled. Yenjika's cheer had won over all others. Qin Rui seemed to want to reach out and shake their hands, but he restrained himself. He said with a smile, "Okay, I'll come and shout a few times by myself." "Hey, that's not right." "What do you mean by come?" I'm also here for the class reunion." After a few humorous words, he said goodbye to Lu Cheng and Jiang Fei and trotted back to the team for the morning exercise. Looking at his back, Jiang Fei murmured in a low voice, "What a show-off, it's okay. Who doesn't want that?" Lu Cheng defended Qin Rui. After taking a few steps, Jiang Fei looked back and said jokingly, "Cheng, why don't you jump on the stage, beat all your opponents, and steal their limelight? You're not weaker than them, right?" "What's wrong with me?" Lu Cheng laughed and scolded, "Why would I get involved in this? Their goal is the preliminaries, and mine is the National University Martial Arts Competition. We'll mind our own business. Even our circles are different." The two talked and laughed as they walked out of the park. They ate minced meat soup noodles and a bunch of other food at a nearby breakfast stall. "How are we going back?" Jiang Fei wiped his mouth. Lu Cheng laughed and said, "Of course we're going back." Jiang Fei's face turned pale. "Brother Cheng, no, Master Cheng, if we go back again, we'll really die. Look at how timid you are." "I'm just kidding." Lu Cheng took out his phone, made an order and waited for the online taxi. Jiang Fei heaved a long sigh of relief and said, "I have to believe you. When you said we were going to Sanli Pavilion People's Park, I really thought you were joking. But it turns out you're not." Back at home, Lu Cheng took a shower and felt refreshed. He had completely gotten rid of the lingering flu. Energetically, he turned on his computer, logged into QQ, and checked his email to see if Geezer Sure had sent him any videos or information. Obviously, Geezer sure didn't get up so early when he didn't need to teach his disciple. Lu Qing didn't care. He clicked on the chat box with Yenjika and sent an emoji. After the morning exercise, I feel alive again. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed. You're not Lu Daiyu anymore. Disappointed? By the way, Coach Yen, I have something to ask you. Lu Qing sent an emoji with bright eyes. Just say it. I'm in a good mood now. Yenjika sent an emoji with a hook finger. Lu Qing sent an emoji with a silly smile. Didn't I earn a bonus of 15,000 yuan this time? Besides treating you to a big meal and a tour in Songqing, I want to buy a gift for my parents. It's the first real gift, a gift to support myself. What do you think should be a good gift? He tried to let Yenjika participate more in his affairs and strengthen the closeness between them. Of course, he really didn't know what to buy. Yenjika sent an emoji with a dumbfounded expression. I haven't met your parents and don't know what they like. How can I give you advice? You tell them and I'll help you. Lu Qing thought for a while and said, how about clothes and pants? That's fine. Yenjika crossed her hands and put a thoughtful emoji on her chin. Then here comes the question. Do you know what size clothes your parents wear? XL or XXL? What's their waist? Lu Qing's expression was dull and he replied with a string of ellipses. I knew it. So, a son is not as considerate as a daughter. Yenjika sent an emoji with a helpless expression. Ehe, that's why I like a daughter too. Lu Qing followed and replied. On this topic, they chatted for a while before getting back on track. Lu Qing asked, how about I ask my parents directly? Well, that's not a surprise. Are your parents at home? When they're not home, you can go through their wardrobes. Then you'll know. And you can also see what kind of clothes they lack. Of course, don't be too extravagant. Buy a coat or something like that. You have to save your money. When you reach the Dan stage in the future, you can't do without the help of medicine soup. Yenjika sent an emoji with a righteous expression. You're right, Coach Yen. Lu Qing answered excitedly. He left his room, entered the master bedroom and opened the wardrobe. Well, this jacket, how long has my dad been wearing it? I remember that I had an impression of it before I graduated from primary school. His woolen sweater had a lot of bumps, and some parts were so thin that they were almost torn. Mom's thermal long johns look so old. How many years has she been wearing them? Lu Qing looked through them one by one. This was an area that he had never paid attention to before. He always thought that after his family situation improved, his parents' clothes would have been replaced long ago, just like his own. But now, he saw with his own eyes that they were still so thrifty even after buying some clothes to keep up appearances. It seemed that they wanted to save every penny to spend on themselves. Most of the things in the wardrobe are years old, right? It seems that if they don't wear them until they're worn out, they won't be able to wear them again unless they're mended. Lu Qing's eyes reddened slightly. He took a deep breath and his emotions seemed to have settled down. He felt more sorry for his parents. He checked the size and other information, closed the wardrobe, returned to his room, and sent a message to Yenjika. I'm going to buy a woolen sweater for my dad and 2 sets of thermal long johns for my mom. After asking about the size, Yenjika selected some clothes online and sent a few styles to Lu Qing. These are not bad. You can choose by yourself. When the time comes, you can buy them directly from their physical store. They may be a little more expensive, but you're a nouveau riche, manual squint. Express delivery will not be restored until after the new year. What a pity. After settling this matter, Yenjika went to practice martial arts. Lu Qing played games for a while. Suddenly, he heard the sound of the door opening and the familiar cough. Mom and Dad are back. Chapter 79. Qing. As soon as the door opened, Lu Qing's mother shouted. Lu Qing had already put down the mouse and walked out. He was surprised and happy. You're back so early? Early? This is early? If it weren't for your dad, I would have started cooking already. Lu Qing's mother nagged while changing her shoes. Lu Qing's father was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. His hair was stubbornly messy, and his face was shaved white. He smiled bitterly and said, Your mom is too impatient. She just woke up and didn't eat breakfast, but she's already in a hurry to come back. What's the use of me telling her this? You don't even know when you're home. You haven't eaten breakfast, and it's not time to make lunch yet. Why bother? You're right. Lu Cheng's mother stared at him. I don't need to buy groceries? You don't worry about your son? How old are you, Cheng? He has hands and feet, money and a phone. What's there to worry about? Lu Cheng's father changed into slippers and slowly stepped into the living room with a thermos cup in his hands. He was wearing a black woolen coat. He was slightly shorter than Lu Cheng, about 1.7 meters. He was thin and his face was weathered. There were not many wrinkles, but his cheeks were slightly sagging. Seeing the old couple bickering as usual, Lu Cheng felt warm in his heart. He smiled and said, I went out to exercise and had breakfast with Jiang Fei. Exercise? Lu Cheng's mother looked at him suspiciously. Cheng, you used to sleep until noon on holidays. When did you change? She was wearing a red slim-fit down jacket. She seemed to be going to the wedding banquet because her hair was tied up in a bun. The crow's feet at the corner of her eyes were obvious. She was a little chubby, but she was in good spirits and looked good. What's wrong with exercise? The body is the capital of the revolution. As an intellectual, Lu Cheng's father always felt obliged to express his opinion. You talk too much. I'm talking to my son. Lu Cheng's mother stared at him again. Lu Cheng held back his laughter and said, Didn't I tell you before? I joined the university martial arts club. Now I'm used to waking up early every morning to exercise. Martial arts club? Don't fight everywhere. What if you get injured? Lu Cheng's mother nagged. I'll go buy some groceries and make you a good meal. Look at how thin you are. You must not eat well in school. Lu Cheng said blankly, No, I put on almost 15 kilograms. Look at your face, which part of you looks fat? Lu Cheng's mother didn't believe his explanation at all. Lu Cheng used actions instead of words. He pulled out the electronic scale at home, took off his jacket and stood on it. Is this scale broken? Out of battery? Why did he really put on 15 kilograms? Lu Cheng's mother looked at the numbers and asked in surprise. Mom. He used to be rather light, but with the increase in his appetite and the strengthening of his muscles, he could barely be considered as a normal martial artist's weight. But according to Gieserscher's opinion, he had to be heavier, or he wouldn't even be powerful enough to hit someone. That's good. That's good. Lu Cheng's mother smiled happily. Then you go to the market with me tomorrow to get some groceries. It's almost Chinese New Year. We need to stock up. Otherwise, it won't be easy to buy them. She didn't wait for Lu Cheng's reply. She rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a trolley for groceries, changed into outdoor shoes, opened the door and left. Your mom. She's always in a hurry. Lu Cheng's father unscrewed the lid of the thermos, took a sip of tea, and shook his head with a smile. Not bad. Lu Cheng walked to the sofa next to his father and sat down. She always talks about your slow temper. Lu Cheng's father put the thermos on the coffee table. He sat down and asked, How's it going? How's your life in school? He had heard the answers to these questions from Lu Cheng's mother, but he felt that he didn't care enough if he didn't ask. Lu Cheng laughed and said cheerfully, I was wondering if you would ask about this cliché topic, Dad. I didn't expect you to ask. Lu Cheng's father was stunned. He suddenly sighed and said, Cheng, you've become more cheerful after half a year in college. Dad, I wasn't introverted before. Lu Cheng asked in confusion. Lu Cheng's father smiled and said, It's not that you were introverted before. It's just that you're more cheerful now. In the past, you used to answer every question. Now you even answer first. He said humorously with a line from a skit. Lu Cheng was amused and answered subconsciously, Maybe it's because there's less pressure in college and my roommates are easy to get along with. That's why I've become more cheerful. To be precise, he had become more talkative. This was all thanks to Kai Xiaoming. Practicing martial arts to improve his qi, chasing Yenjika to improve his speaking skills, and bickering with Xiaoming to improve his joking ability. These were all indisputable facts. He appeared to be more at ease and could liven up the atmosphere. The ancients often said good teachers and helpful friends. This was probably the effect of helpful friends, which could really benefit a lifetime. Although there was a saying that it was easier to change mountains and rivers than to change one's nature, human nature was a gradual process. Lu Cheng was still at the stage of being fine-tuned and would definitely be influenced by his surroundings. It was really a lucky thing to have good friends, good teachers, and good girls. Of course, even if one's nature had been fixed, it was possible to change after experiencing a big change. Well, it's good now. Lu Cheng's father nodded with satisfaction. But even if there's no pressure, you still have to study hard. This is your life's capital. The new college student in our factory really doesn't know anything. Don't listen to other people's nonsense. They say that you can relax and have fun after college. You're playing in a ditch. Lu Cheng used to be impatient to listen to this kind of teaching, but now he was quite emotional. Yeah, there are 3 people in our small dormitory who are especially fond of studying. Every time I see them, I feel guilty and have to work harder. At this time, he found that his father's eyes were fixed on the bottle of Ningxue wine, so he explained, Wang Su brought it. It's original proof wine. He drank 2 glasses by himself. Old Wang's son? Lu Cheng's father thought for a while and said, don't have too much contact with him in the future. Alas, old Wang has suffered a lot all his life. Now that he's old, he still has to suffer from his son's sufferings. Dad, I understand. It's best to avoid this kind of gangster. After chatting with Yenjika, Lu Cheng could calmly make a decision. It's good that you understand. Don't be fooled by the fact that I've been in contact with a few famous bosses in Xioshan because of the factory. They all seem to be amiable and have a sense of propriety in their words and actions. However, those who work in the underworld have no underlings who dare to fight or kill. Who would be amiable with them? Which boss gets to the top by being amiable? Isn't it all because of fighting and hard work? In the beginning, when you didn't have money, how could you control the people below you if you weren't ruthless enough? Lu Cheng's father was very emotional and couldn't help nagging. At that time, he watched the young workers in the factory become street gangsters one by one. Many of them even got addicted to drugs, which made the security of the community very bad for a period of time. Lu Cheng nodded and said, Anyway, I don't like to come into contact with such dark things. Isn't it good to live a sunny life? After a few years, old Wang's son will be old. I hope he can restrain himself. Lu Cheng's father sighed. Old men can't be compared with young men in their teens. They are daring and reckless. If they don't get a good position, they will gradually fade away. Of course, the premise is that they don't get involved in serious crimes and live until then. Lu Cheng was about to say something when Lu Cheng's father added, Do you still remember old Han's son? Yes, what happened to him? Lu Cheng asked curiously. Old Han's son was a legend in the community. He was the senior of Wang Su and the others. He was talented and had high martial arts. It was said that he was close to the professional level. Leading a group of young workers in the factory, he fought hard and made a name for himself in the Xioshan underworld circle. However, a few years ago, he killed 3 people because of a fight over a mine. The matter became serious and he offended too many people, so he had to run away. No one knew where he went. Lu Cheng's father sighed and said, He hid for a few years and thought that the trouble had passed. In November, he came back secretly. However, he was blocked on the national highway. In the words of the police, he put up a desperate struggle and was killed on the spot. Killed on the spot? Lu Cheng took a deep breath. When Kai Zhongming talked about the kidnapping case and mentioned that the gangsters were killed by random gunshots, he didn't feel much. However, it was different now. This was someone he knew and lived in the building next door. How could he be killed on the spot? Phew, I hope Wang Su doesn't end up like this. He could only wish. Lu Cheng's father didn't continue this depressing topic. He turned on the TV and talked about Lu Cheng's life in school. When Lu Cheng's mother came back from grocery shopping, he took a sip of strong tea and went to the kitchen to help wash the vegetables and cut the meat. Not long after, Lu Cheng smelled a strange smell that seemed to penetrate into his bones. It was the smell of fried eel, one of his favorite dishes. He couldn't help but swallow a few mouthfuls of saliva. He felt that he could eat a bowl of rice just by the smell alone. A person's stomach was trained from a young age. No matter how delicious the food outside was, it would not be as good as the food made at home. Of course, there was a prerequisite to this. His mother or father's cooking skills were not bad, and they were not just for show. When it was time to eat, he swept away the food like a whirlwind. Lu Cheng's mother was very pleased and felt that her cooking skills were recognized. She happily talked about family matters, such as going to grandpa's for the new year, how much New Year's money should be given to the younger generation, and how her cousin failed to open a restaurant and went back to work at the same old place. Lu Cheng's father was drinking original proof wine at the side and only said a few words occasionally. The warm atmosphere was reverberating. Lu Cheng ate with great satisfaction, from his stomach to his soul. The matter of his martial arts competition could be mentioned when he gave the gift. In the afternoon, he chatted with his mother for a while. Then he asked Cheng Chili to go out to buy gifts. Cheng, I want to confess my love to Monitor at this party. In the bar, Cheng Chili threw a bombshell at Lu Cheng the moment they met. Lu Cheng almost couldn't recover from the shock. When did you fall in love with Chiu Hailin? You didn't mention it before? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Chapter 80. Didn't I share a semester with her when I was in my senior year of high school? Cheng Chili's voice became lower and lower as he spoke. His short hair was parted to the side, and he wore thick black-rimmed glasses. There were a few pimples on his forehead, and there was a sore at the corner of his mouth due to excessive heat. He looked like an introverted person who wouldn't say a word even if you beat him with a stick. However, after getting along with him for a long time, he was not as stuffy as he looked. He could talk incessantly when talking about topics that interested him. Lu Cheng recovered from the shock and gossiped, I was wondering why you always talk to Monitor. It turns out that you had a crush on her. Huh, what's her attitude? Or to what extent are you two? Chiu Hailin left a deep impression on him. She was quite organized and dignified, but her hairstyle and glasses were quite old-fashioned. In the words of Tao Xiaofei, who sat in front of him, look through the appearance to see the essence. Monitor's facial features and skin were fine, but her hairstyle and middle-aged teacher glasses ruined everything. If one didn't look carefully, he would think that she was the head teacher. Thinking of her hairstyle, Lu Cheng couldn't help but want to complain again. He was not familiar with Chiu Hailin, but every time they talked or met, he couldn't help but look at her forehead. Her forehead was big and she didn't know how to cover it with her hairstyle, so it was exposed so frankly, which always made people have the impulse to flick it. Cheng Chili thought carefully and said, It means that there will be no awkward silence when we talk. There is always something to talk about. Lu Cheng was stunned and blurted out, You want to confess your love in this way? Why not? Cheng Chili was confused. Lu Cheng seemed to see his ignorant and immature self a few months ago. He said earnestly, Monitor is studying in the capital, and you are in the provincial capital. How do you keep in touch? QQ. Cheng Chili answered naturally. Then how often do you talk? How long do you talk each time? Lu Cheng asked patiently. Cheng Chili thought for a while and said, Once every 2 or 3 days. If we have a lot of topics, we can talk for 1 or 2 hours. The correct answer should be to chat with him every day, every time for a whole day. Lu Cheng couldn't help but cover his forehead and ask, Did the Monitor show any signs of closeness to you, or ambiguity? Well, Cheng Chili was lost in thought. After a long time, he said, But it doesn't prevent me from confessing. I confess because I like her, not because she likes me. Lu Cheng sighed as he recalled the words of Kai Xiaoming, the Casanova, and said, Old Cheng, this isn't how confessions work. He reorganized what Xiaoming had taught him and explained it in a language that was suitable for Cheng Chili's understanding. Cheng Chili was gradually stunned as if he had opened the door to a new world. After he finished, Cheng Chili paused for a while and then said with admiration, Cheng, if it weren't for you, I would have screwed this up. It turns out that you can't directly confess to a girl when you're pursuing her. Where did you get that experience from? I don't think you were in a relationship in high school. Could it be that you were enlightened after college? He almost stretched out his hands to hold Lu Cheng tightly and shake him heavily. Enjoying his gaze, Lu Cheng felt the pleasure of being a good teacher. He laughed and said, I'm pursuing a girl. I asked others for advice and then I have my own experience. No wonder. Cheng Qili said curiously, you didn't mention that you were pursuing a girl before? Lu Qing gave a hollow laugh and said, I wanted to talk about it after I got her, so as not to embarrass myself. Ha, you can introduce her to us then. Cheng Qili said the same thing as Jiang Fei. When I introduce her to you, I'm sure you'll be scared to death. Lu Qing chatted with old Cheng and talked about the interesting things about their studies. Many topics couldn't be induced by chatting on the internet. After all, he was only willing to spend so much energy to talk about everything in detail with the girl he loved. He didn't care about rough men like Jiang Fei and Cheng Qili. They talked and laughed until 4 o'clock. Cheng Qili went home to accompany his relatives. Lu Qing took his mobile phone and went to the local business center under the guidance of Yenjika. He found the 2 brick-and-mortar stores and paid directly for 2 sets of women's thermal long johns and a woolen sweater. Yenjika only had 1 sentence for this. I'm so pissed off. Don't you know how to ask if there's any activity, whether you can make up the bill, and whether you can get a discount? You just bought them directly? I think the price is quite reasonable. Lu Qing answered in a low voice. Yenjika sent a dazed emoji in the cold wind and said, Okay, this is very Qing, very manly. What a spendthrift. Back home, Lu Qing walked through the living room carefully to avoid his mother who was cooking. He hid the gifts in his room and waited for a surprise on New Year's Eve. At this time, Geezer Sure had sent the video and detailed information of the big and small hand wrap to his email. He watched and discussed with Yenjika and had a preliminary understanding of the theory. To put it bluntly, the big and small hand wrap was a combination of grappling and counter-grappling. It was very effective in close combat when combined with the listening skill. It was a good choice for street fighting in a situation where other fighting styles could cause serious injuries or even death if one was not careful. In addition, the description of joints in the attached information was also quite interesting. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the high school reunion. Lu Qing and Jiang Fei finished their training and went home to shower and change clothes. They got in the car and went to the gathering place. Coach Yen, we're going to see Du Liu today. What do you think I should do to help you bully him as revenge for stealing your darling's seat? Lu Qing sent a message to Yenjika in the car while the scenery passed by. Yenjika replied with a proud emoji wearing sunglasses. Just throw him to the ground. In public, people will think that I have a crush on Song Li. Lu Qing replied with a dumbfounded emoji. Just kidding, Yenjika shrugged and said, help me ask him about his relationship with Song Li and see how he answers. I have to help that little girl. Qing, I'll leave this important spy mission to you. Don't let me down. I promise to complete the mission. Rest assured. Lu Qing replied with a smile. When they arrived at the gathering place, Fatty Jiang, as the assistant organizer, had already arrived. His current condition could be described as sore waist, back, and leg cramps, but he could go up 5 floors in one breath. His weight loss had not yet taken effect, but he seemed to be more energetic. He was talking with the monitor, Chiu Hailin, and others. Cheng Qili changed into a new set of clothes and tried to look clean and energetic. He stood beside them and chimed in from time to time. Out of habit, Lu Qing glanced at Chiu Hailin's forehead again. Her big forehead was still exposed, but her hairstyle was more fashionable and her glasses were replaced with contact lenses. Suddenly, she seemed to be a different person. She could almost be called a beauty. He chuckled and walked over to greet them. Cheng, you've changed a lot. I almost didn't recognize you. Chiu Hailin said with a smile. Lu Qing laughed and said, no change is as big as yours. Look at your old deskmate. He's so surprised that he's shivering and doesn't dare to speak. He imitated Kai Zongming and tried to connect Cheng Qili and Chiu Hailin to create opportunities for him. Brother, this is the only way I can help you. Everyone burst into laughter. Cheng Qili blushed. Chiu Hailin covered her mouth and said, look at the way you talk. You've really changed a person. By the way, do you still remember your old deskmate? She pointed at a girl in a light blue cotton-padded jacket. She was Lu Cheng's deskmate in the first and second year of high school. Her name was Chao Lele. She was a girl with a small nose, small eyes, and small mouth. But overall, she looked quite delicate. She was also the one Lu Cheng and Yenjika talked about when they talked about menstruation. Seeing Chow Lele, Lu Cheng unconsciously recalled that topic and his sudden realization. He almost couldn't hold back his laughter. He nodded and answered, "How can I not recognize her? Lele was half my English teacher back then." Chow Lele saw his strange expression and asked in confusion, "Lu Cheng, what's with your expression?" "No, nothing. I just suddenly thought of something else." Of course, Lu Cheng wouldn't mention that topic stupidly. While they were talking, more and more classmates gathered. Qin Rui came and whispered to Jiang Fei and Qiu Hailin. Tao Xiaofei, who sat in front of Lu Cheng, also came. He drove a BMW 7 Series and chatted with Lu Cheng for a while. Old Wu and teacher Xang came. Old Wu was a skinny middle-aged man with big glasses that almost covered half of his face. No one could tell that he was a fanatic martial arts fan. While teacher Xen was petite with pretty features. She became the head teacher of Lu Cheng's class 2 years after graduating from college. But due to lack of experience, she let old Wu handle the key period of the 3rd year of high school. Du Liu was also there. After he had a girlfriend, he was dressed more neatly and pleasing to the eye. His black coat accentuated his height of 1.8 meters. His short hair made him look more energetic, and his eyebrows were as thick and black as usual. This gave him the nickname of Little Exine in class. "Fatty Jiang, cooperate with me later. I'm going to torture Du Liu to find out about his relationship with Song Li." Lu Cheng pulled Jiang Fei over and whispered. Jiang Fei laughed. "Cheng, I didn't expect you to be more gossipy than me. But, do you have to ask for so many details? Don't tell me you have feelings for Song Li. I'm asking for someone." Lu Cheng said concisely. "Who is it?" Jiang Fei was confused and at a loss. Lu Cheng smiled. "Of course it's Song Li's best friend, Yenjika." "What the F***CK? Jiang Fei's mouth was wide open. His face was full of shock. After a while, he gave Lu Cheng a thumbs up and said, "Cheng, you did well. You got Yenjika's contact number." At this time, almost all the students had arrived. Fatty Jiang didn't have time to say more and organized everyone to board the tour bus. It was more than 10 kilometers from the rendezvous point to Xioshan's 9 Turns. It was quite a distance from 9 Turns to Spring Scenery Fields Conference Villa. Although it was supposed to be a hike, no one would really walk there except for a freak like Lu Cheng. Qiu Hailin contacted the tour bus to send everyone to the conference villa. Those who liked to hike could do it themselves during free time. As for the money for the party, it was already collected online. It was 200 yuan per person. Tao Xiaofei would bear the cost of the party. After boarding the bus, Lu Cheng sat beside Du Liu without hesitation. Du Liu was stunned. He thought to himself, "I don't think I have such a good relationship with him." At this time, Qiu Hailin counted the heads and clapped in front of the bus. Except for Tao Xiaofei and a few others who drove there themselves, everyone is here. Please be quiet. Qin Rui has something to say to everyone. Qin Rui stood beside Qiu Hailin. He was full of smiles and humorous words. "Today, I have a martial arts competition at the North Court of the Conference Villa. It's related to the preliminaries after the New Year. I hope all of you can come and cheer me on. Happy New Year to all of you." It was rare for such a thing to happen. The whole class cheered and said they would go. The atmosphere was very lively. To be honest, Lu Cheng was also very interested in this. He was curious about the level of the martial arts circle in his hometown. Chapter 81. Du Liu and Lu Cheng could only be considered as classmates, not friends. He had his own little circle of friends and had planned to sit with his best friend Xiong Tao. However, Lu Cheng had suddenly inserted himself into the seat. He was confused. After Qin Rui finished his story, Xiong Tao, who was standing at the side in a daze, patted Lu Cheng on the shoulder. "Hey, Lu Cheng, why are you sitting in my seat? I have something to ask Du Liu. I'll return your seat to you later." "Sorry." Lu Cheng looked straight into Xiong Tao's eyes calmly. Xiong Tao was a little annoyed at first. However, when he met Lu Cheng's eyes, heard his sincere words, and felt his confidence and calmness, his anger disappeared. Instead, he smiled and said, "What's the matter? Can you tell me about it?" "Just a little gossip." Lu Cheng turned to Du Liu and smiled. "Tell me about your experience." Du Liu suddenly realized and pointed at Jiang Fei, who was sitting in the row behind. "Fatty Jiang, didn't we agree to keep it a secret?" Jiang Fei looked tired. "It's not the first time you know that I have a big mouth." Beside him, Cheng Chili couldn't hold back his laughter and burst out laughing. Du Liu was annoyed and amused. "No wonder Song Li said that everyone in her class knew about it. It's all because of your big mouth. I was still wondering when we were seen again." "Good job, Fatty Jiang. You took the blame for your brother." Lu Cheng praised in his heart. He smiled and said, "So, tell us honestly. Don't let us torture you." Oddly enough, Du Liu knew that he wasn't familiar with Lu Cheng. But his confident and generous attitude and humorous words seemed to reduce the gap between them. Du Liu said subconsciously, "What's there to explain? Isn't it just this and that?" As his best friend, Xiong Tao already knew about his relationship with Song Li. He didn't find another seat but stood beside Lu Cheng. With one hand supporting the back of the seat, he said with a smile, "Details. We want to know the details. This kind of thing could easily cause a commotion." Lu Cheng copied Kai Xiaoming. He looked at Du Liu and pointed at Xiong Tao. "Did you hear that? The voice of the masses. Tell me, how did you and Song Li begin?" Du Liu's voice was not loud, and it was limited to the 2 rows of people in the noisy environment. Du Liu relaxed a little and scratched his head. "Aren't we in the same city? Not long after school started, a senior brother organized a party for us. You know, she was very close to Yenjuka at that time. They often hung out together and were well known in our grade. Of course, I was very surprised and excited to meet an acquaintance. So I boldly asked for her phone number and QQ number. She seemed very happy and didn't refuse. Well, there are 4 great joys in life: meeting an old friend in a foreign land. Damn it, are you trying to turn meeting an old friend in a foreign land into a wedding night?" Jiang Fei couldn't help but complain. "And then? You've already started to pursue her?" Xiong Tao had already answered for Lu Cheng, full of enthusiasm. Du Liu's eyes widened. "How is that possible? After we got to know each other better, Song Li would ask me for help from time to time. She would drag me along when she was traveling around. Think about it, she's not bad looking. Except for being a little shrewish, she's quite cheerful and lively. I couldn't help but fall in love with her." Shrewish. Lu Cheng silently memorized his words in his little notebook. He teased, "According to what you said, she was the one who made the first move?" There was also a gathering for the provincial fellow townsmen meeting in Songqing, but at that time, he and Yenjuka had already started their special martial arts training, so they couldn't find a suitable time to attend the meeting. So they simply ignored those people. "I think so. Back then, she kept looking for me. My roommates all said that such a classmate relationship would develop into adultery sooner or later." Du Liu said with a hint of pride. "I don't believe it. Why would a girl like Song Li fall in love with you?" Xiong Tao said sarcastically. Du Liu said with a smile, "I don't know. Maybe she saw that I'm more mature and steady, wretch." Lu Cheng, Jiang Fei, Xiong Tao and Cheng Chili beside them were all retching. "What are you talking about? Why are you so happy?" Chiu Hailin had been chatting with them from the front to the middle. She was more like a teacher than the 2 head teachers. "We're talking about Du Liu in Class 3. Song Li from Class 3. Jiang Fei, the big mouth, made a broadcast without hesitation. Halfway through, Du Liu wanted to stand up and cover his mouth, but Jiang Fei cleverly dodged. Chiu Hailin's eyes widened. "Du Liu and Song Li from Class 3 are dating?" "Yeah, homeroom. We're asking him for advice. Do you want to hear it too?" Lu Cheng said while giving Cheng Chili a look. He wanted him to take the initiative to tell Chiu Hailin what had just happened. Chiu Hailin listened with great interest. Her gossipy nature was aroused. "Well done, Du Li. You've won glory for our class. I heard that someone from Class 3, Jia something, once pursued Song Li. I know. Song Li said that Jia Yu likes to pretend to be a scholar and a scholar. She doesn't like him at all. Du Liu said with a smile. How does it feel to be in a relationship? Lu Cheng interrupted, doing his job as a spy and a traitor. Du Liu thought for a while and said, I can't describe it with words. It was wonderful at the beginning. Now it's okay. Although she's a little too nosy, everything else is good. After listening to him, Jiang Fei, the forever single dog, quietly asked, which base are you guys at now? With a p, Qiu Hailin blushed and looked to the side. Du Liu was embarrassed and angry. He said fiercely, get lost. How can you ask such a question in public? Lu Cheng laughed as he remembered the key point. He was a little too nosy. Everyone laughed and laughed. Time flew by. The bus drove to the entrance of Spring Scenery Field Conference Villa. Tao Xiaofei's BMW was already parked nearby. When he got off the bus, Lu Cheng bumped into his homeroom teacher, Old Wu. He smiled and greeted him, long time no see, Mr. Wu. You're getting more energetic. Ha! Old Wu laughed. Lu Cheng, you've learned how to talk. In the past you'd say, hi, Mr. Wu at most. You make it sound like I was in kindergarten and just learned how to talk. Lu Cheng said humorously. The other students couldn't help but laugh. Old Wu said cheerfully, not bad. Looks like you've learned a lot in Songqing University. Yes, Mr. Wu. I've joined Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Lu Cheng deliberately bent his elbow to show off his muscles. Old Wu was surprised. He looked at him from head to toe. I know you like martial arts, but I didn't expect you to go there specifically to learn. It's good for your body. You can't be like me, skinny and weak. While they were talking, everyone entered the villa. For the time being, no one was going out on their own. They sat around Old Wu and Teacher Xen in the tea house and chatted about their high school days. For example, Tao Xiaofei was a mischievous boy who always talked back to Teacher Xen, who had just graduated from university 2 years ago. There were also times when Old Wu would sneak in from the back of the class and watch everyone in silence. Old Wu and Teacher Xen would also reveal their mental journey back then and truthfully describe their own impressions of themselves. Reminiscing about the past was always heartwarming. As long as it wasn't too bad, it was a different feeling to talk about it. It was like returning to the most youthful years of their lives, and most people didn't have the pressure to study anymore. Only when they couldn't go back did they understand how precious it was. After sitting and chatting for a while, Lu Cheng felt that this class reunion was not in vain. After almost an hour, some people asked their friends to go to the free KTV to sing, play table tennis and badminton, and walk around the nearby mountain path to breathe in the fresh air. Lu Cheng, Jiang Fei, and the others kept Old Wu and Mr. Xen company, talking and chatting. Many things that were inconvenient to talk about during their school days could now be talked about, like the truth behind the sick leave. There was less fear and awe between the teachers and students, and more comfort as friends. When it was almost 12 o'clock, the students gathered again and headed to the banquet hall of Nanyuan. There were more than 50 people, and after squeezing a little, 5 tables were set up. Each table had white wine, beer, red wine, coconut milk, and orange juice. Seeing that everyone was seated, Qiu Hailin stood up, holding a glass of red wine. Full of energy, she spoke like a speech. Everyone has graduated for a semester. Today, we are gathered here for the sake of our youth and friendship that will never fade. Teacher Wu and Teacher Xen have accompanied us for 3 years, taught us for 3 years, and worked hard for us for 3 years. Let us first toast to them. Everyone clinked their glasses against the glass turntable, then stood up and poured wine for themselves. It was a mess. Without a second thought, Lu Cheng took the coconut juice and poured himself a cup. Hey, Lu Cheng, why are you drinking like a girl? Tao Xiaofei, who was sitting at the same table, complained. More than 10 people glanced at him, but Lu Cheng didn't feel embarrassed. He said calmly, I've quit drinking. At this moment, Qiu Hailin raised her glass. Cheers. As soon as she finished speaking, Tao Xiaofei said, wait a minute, we have a guy here who is not a girl. Why are you using a drink instead? In a flash, everyone's eyes were fixed on the glass in Lu Cheng's hand, which was full of coconut milk. If it was in the past, Lu Qing would have blushed and wanted to find a hole to hide in. He wouldn't be able to bear this feeling and would quickly change the drink in his glass for wine. But at this moment, he was calm and didn't think it was a big deal. He looked around, raised his glass, and said loudly, "Mr. Wu, Mr. Xian, and everyone, I'm now practicing martial arts with Songqing University Martial Arts Club. I've quit drinking, so I'll use a drink instead to toast to you." The foppish guy sitting in front of him was actually a good person. He never deliberately bullied his classmates, but he liked to talk dirty. He was also more self-centered and didn't care about other people's feelings, just like just now. Tao Xiaofei was immediately dissatisfied. "We haven't seen each other for half a year. What's wrong with drinking a little? What can this little bit of wine do to you? Can't you break the habit and drink a little for Mr. Wu, Mr. Xian, and us? You're not a good friend." Lu Qing looked straight into his eyes. His smile didn't change, but his tone was firm. "Didn't Mr. Wu teach us that an ant's nest can destroy a 1,000-mile dike? Once you break the habit, you can't quit." Tao Xiaofei wanted to say more, but old Wu had already raised his glass and said, Okay, we're all here for a class reunion. Let's have fun. If you want to drink, drink. If you want to drink, drink. If you want to drink, drink. Don't force others. Female students, you have to be more careful. If you don't want to, you have to be careful, he said humorously and finished the light liquor in his glass in one gulp. Cheers to the past 3 years. Cheers. The students also drank the drinks in their cups. Just as Lu Qing sat down, Jiang Fei leaned over and said with admiration, "In that atmosphere just now, I thought I wouldn't be able to hold on. I could only drink a sip and it wouldn't be considered breaking the habit. I didn't expect you to be able to hold on. It's also a way to train my willpower. If I can't hold on to this level of pressure, how can I go on the road of martial arts in the future?" Lu Qing said casually. At the dinner table, Tao Xiaofei made a face, but he didn't find fault with Lu Qing. He just treated him coldly, not as affectionately as when they first met. After dinner, Qin Rui asked everyone to go to the North Garden to wait for the competition to start. He excitedly told Lu Qing, Jiang Fei, and the others that the person in charge of the Golden Foundation would watch the competition in person. As long as they performed well, they might get more resources in the preliminaries after the new year. Therefore, both sides paid more attention to the competition. At the entrance of the North Garden, Qin Rui and the people from the Gushan Martial Arts School met up. Tao Xiaofei, who had been hanging around bars all year round, was obviously no stranger to this group of martial artists. He went up and talked cheerfully with the leader of the group. The underworld and martial arts schools were inextricably linked. Even if these thugs were unorthodox before, they would still want to learn proper martial arts after they had some money. They would want to improve their strength and gradually climb up the ranks. Since Tao Xiaofei had a relationship with Qin Rui, of course he would call the thugs from the Gushan Martial Arts School brothers. "Do you think Tao Xiaofei will ask the people from the Gushan Martial Arts School to beat you up?" Jiang Fei looked forward and said with a talent for provoking. If they really fought, he wouldn't worry at all. With Cheng's talent for endurance, even if he couldn't beat them, he could still walk them to death. Lu Qing glanced at him and said, "Is it necessary? It's just a matter of persuading people to drink." Although he said so, he still used the condensation stance to eavesdrop on what Tao Xiaofei was saying from a short distance away. "Brother Feng, don't you think it's funny? A man who became a monk suddenly told me that he wants to quit drinking in order to practice martial arts. You're so powerful, but I don't see you not drinking in private. What's wrong with taking a sip or two? You don't give me any face. A pot of water doesn't make a sound, but half a pot of water does." No. I'm just complaining. We've been classmates for 3 years, so there's no need to fight over such a trivial matter. At most, we won't keep in touch with each other anymore. Lu Qing listened and smiled slightly. Tao Xiaofei's nature was really good, but he was too self-centered. At this moment, his eyes suddenly froze, because a man in his 30s was walking towards him. He had a neat buzz cut, wore a short leather jacket, and wore shiny leather shoes. Just by looking at his appearance, he looked like an ordinary person you could find on the streets. But what caught Lu Cheng's attention at first sight was the vigorous qi and blood around him. When the body refining stage reached the limit, the qi and blood were close to the current peak, but they couldn't be integrated and controlled freely. Therefore, the vigorous qi and blood could almost be turned into a kind of fierce feeling. Those who had never met a professional ninth pin fighter might not be aware of this, but after meeting Lin Ke for a long time and fighting with Wang Yi, Yi Yaoding, and Zhou Yuaning, Lu Cheng was very sensitive. At first sight, he believed that the man was a professional ninth pin fighter. Even if he was not as strong as Lin Ke, Yi Yaoding, and the others, he was not far behind. Moreover, this man's eyes were unusually sharp and indifferent, giving people a sense of danger. If Lin Ke, Yi Yaoding, and the other professional ninth pin fighters were tigers in the zoo, who could hurt people, but always lacked a little wildness, then the man in front of them was a wolf wandering in the wilderness. A professional ninth pin fighter. Is he the chief general invited by the Foundation? But this thing hasn't started yet, right? Lu Cheng was a little confused, seeing that the man was getting closer and closer to his team. When they were about to pass by each other, the man in the short leather jacket suddenly staggered and bumped into the leading young man beside Tao Xiaofei. The leading young man was tall and strong, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He was very energetic. He frowned and blurted out, "How do you walk?" The man in the short leather jacket stared back at him, "Don't you have eyes?" As soon as his voice fell, his momentum suddenly burst and turned into a hungry hunting wolf, as if he had been waiting for a long time. Lu Cheng suddenly realized that he was here to pick a fight. To pick a fight against Gushan Martial Arts School. Chapter 82. Even though there was a distance between them, Lu Cheng, who was naturally in the condensation stance state, could feel the terrifying aura of the man in the short leather jacket. The surroundings seemed to have become empty all of a sudden. The cold moon hung high in the sky, the cold wind and the bitter rain. A giant wolf with green eyes was howling at the sky, ready to attack, which made people shudder. Lu Cheng was shocked. The aura of the man in the short leather jacket could directly affect his spirit and soul? This was something that Lin Ke, Yi Yaoding, and Wang Yi couldn't do. Bam! As soon as the voice of the man in the short leather jacket fell, he pulled his right arm back like a drawn bow and shot out a punch. The punch was strong and powerful, and the sound of the wind was short. The leading young man didn't expect that he would start the fight without saying anything. He had no time to react, so he could only put his arms forward and put on the most rigid defense posture. With a muffled sound, his body swayed and blocked the blow. The man in the short leather jacket leaped to the side with the help of the rebound force and shouted, "Hey! You have more people, so I won't argue with you." As he spoke, he quickly left. The group of Gushan Martial Arts School disciples were at a loss as they stood rooted to the ground. They had yet to figure out what had happened. It wasn't too rare to have a dispute with someone on the side of the road over a trivial matter. But it was too strange to have such a strong start and weak finish. Wasn't it too strange for it to come to an abrupt end? The man who provoked them just tried and left in a hurry. They didn't understand what he was thinking. If he was afraid of the number of people here, why did he force himself to fight? Was it because he couldn't hit them, so he ran away immediately? Lu Cheng was also confused. Did the provocation against Gushan Martial Arts School just go away like this? The other side had invited a mighty one of the professional ninth pin. Was it necessary to play house like a child? "Senior brother Dai, are you okay?" Qin Rui came back to his senses and asked his eighth senior brother, Dai Linfeng. Dai Linfeng was the strongest disciple of his generation in the martial arts club. He was already of amateur first pin at the age of 20. Even among the martial uncles, he was only weaker than his master. Dai Linfeng moved his arms and said with confusion, "I'm okay. Maybe it was just a moment of impulse. Let's go in quickly. Don't let our master and Chairman Wei wait for too long." The man just now was not weaker than him. Why did they have such an inexplicable conflict? Fortunately, he was fine. If he couldn't figure it out, he wouldn't think about it for the time being. The disciples of Gushan Martial Arts School and Lu Cheng's classmates were even more confused. They turned their heads and put this episode behind them, stepping into the Baiyuan gymnasium. Something strange. Lu Cheng frowned slightly and muttered under his breath. Beside him, Jiang Fei's ears were quite sharp. He heard his words and asked in surprise, "What's strange? Wasn't it just a small friction that didn't turn into a big conflict? We do have the advantage in numbers." Lu Cheng looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to his conversation with Jiang Fei. Then he lowered his voice and said, "That guy just now was of professional ninth pin. If he really attacked, how could Senior Dai, whose reaction was obviously slower, not get hurt?" Professional ninth pin? Jiang Fei almost could not control his voice. Then why did he run away after just one move? That's why I said it's weird. Lu Cheng pursed his lips. Jiang Fei looked at him doubtfully. "Are you sure you didn't see wrongly? He only threw out one punch. How could he prove that he was of professional ninth pin? Look at that senior brother Dai, he doesn't even care about it." "I'm sure," Lu Cheng answered firmly. The feeling of the vigorous qi and blood and the horrifying momentum couldn't be faked. "Forget it. Anyway, nothing serious happened." Jiang Fei was stunned. Since he couldn't find a good explanation, he simply chose to forget it. The martial arts stadium of the conference villa was not big. The ring was of the standard type. The surrounding seats were only 2 or 3 steps away from it. The height was only 5 rows, but it could accommodate hundreds of spectators. But this was a private venue for guests who liked martial arts. There was no need to consider the audience. The dome lights were shining brightly. A group of people were sitting on the left side of the entrance. The leader was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was wearing a suit and leather shoes. His hair was neatly combed back, reflecting the dim light. He had heavy eye bags and was not in good spirits. But he had a kind of dignity as if he had been in a superior position for a long time. Seeing Dai Linfeng, Lu Cheng and others enter, he was stunned at first. Then he came to greet them. Beside him were 2 old men in their 50s. One had sharp eyes, but his face was full of wrinkles. The other had cloudy eyes, but he took good care of himself. There was no white hair or wrinkles. Both of them still had vigorous qi and blood. At least they could still turn into substantial qi. In other words, they still had some of the physical qualities of professional ninth pin. "Chairman, Master." Dai Linfeng and other disciples of Gushin Martial Arts School hurriedly saluted. Chairman of the foundation Wei Renjie smiled and said, "Dai Linfeng, you are in good spirits. Today you are going to show your strength. Who are these friends?" "Chairman, they are my high school classmates. Today is a gathering. They are here to cheer for me." Qin Rui had been waiting for this opportunity to get familiar with them. "High school? Which high school are you from?" Wei Renjie greeted them with an amiable attitude. Qin Rui quickly explained, "We just graduated half a year ago. We are from number 1 high school. These 2 are our head teachers, Teacher Wu and Teacher Exen." "Oh, Teacher Wu. I have heard of him. He is a special class teacher in number 1 high school." Wei Renjie walked up to old Wu and held his hand. "I also graduated from number 1 middle school, so I'm your senior. You are the morning sun, the pillars of Xioshan in the future. When you graduate from university, don't forget your hometown." He spoke in a bureaucratic tone, but his expression showed that he was very happy. When he saw his classmates, he was reminded of his most youthful and spirited years. As a special class teacher, old Wu had seen many leaders, especially those whose children were still in school. They were very enthusiastic about him. Therefore, he was not afraid and said with a smile, "I am no stranger to chairman. You are the pride of number 1 high school. After graduation, you applied to go back to your hometown. When the old principal talked about you, he was full of praise." His words scratched Wei Renjie's itch. He felt good from the bottom of his heart and said with a smile, "I haven't seen the old principal in a long time. Come, let's sit together. What is the purpose of our team to participate in the preliminaries? First, it's to make Xioshan famous. Second, it's to get the country's resources to favor it. Third, it's to make everyone pay more attention to martial arts and increase their interest in strengthening their bodies. I'm very happy to have all of you here to watch this competition. It's a small achievement. Everyone, you can't neglect martial arts and strengthening your body while studying. Otherwise, you'll be like me, old and sick. Wei Renjie was very excited and introduced two old men to Lu Cheng and the rest. These two seniors are the mainstays of Xioshan's martial arts circle. This is Mr. Chu Weikai, the head of Gushan Martial Arts School. This is Mr. Ning Xuanli, the head of Mingwei Martial Arts School. Chu Weikai was the one with heavy wrinkles and sharp eyes. Ning Xuanli was the one with good maintenance and cloudy eyes. After a few words of courtesy, they led their disciples to sit on two sides and waited for the competition to start. Wei Renjie stopped talking and walked to the arena. Since there was an audience, he naturally had to give a speech out of habit. After a long speech, he got to the point. This time, we have invited Mr. Zhu Zhushou from Liuhe Martial Arts School of the provincial capital to be the referee. We have a real combat practice for the preliminaries after the new year. There will be a total of 3 matches. The first match, Dai Linfeng from Gushan Martial Arts School versus Zhou Jingyao from Mingwei Martial Arts School. Both of them are strong fighters of amateur first pin and are the hope of Xioshan's martial arts circle. When he got off the arena, Dai Linfeng and Zhou Jingyao came to the arena from both sides and stood respectively on the left and right sides of the referee. The former was wearing a blue martial arts suit with white edges and the latter was wearing red with black. He also had a square face with thick eyebrows and big eyes. If he was in a TV series, he would definitely play the role of a decent character. However, there was a strong sense of hostility between his eyebrows. "Cheng, who do you think will win?" Jiang Fei asked with interest. Lu Cheng rolled his eyes at him. "How can I tell when the fight hasn't started? Don't experts have some kind of momentum and temperament?" Jiang Fei asked curiously. Lu Cheng said grumpily, "There are indeed experts, but you can't judge the winner by that. Moreover, they can't be called real experts. They are not even professional level." His voice gradually lowered because he sensed that both sides were looking at him. The relatives and friends of both sides were here. Oh. Jiang Fei understood and focused on the match. After 3 minutes of conversation, the referee announced the start of the match. Both sides were in a mess. The sound of punches and kicks could be heard clearly. It was very lively. "Cheng, I think it's interesting but I can't see the knack for it. Can you tell me more about it?" Jiang Fei turned his head and said, "Cheng Qili, Qiu Hailin, Chao Lele, Du Liu, Xiong Tao and the others also looked over." Lu Cheng didn't hide anything. He said with a smile, "Mingwei Martial Arts School takes the path of strong and fierce attack. Besides, they are good at using their elbows, knees, shoulders, back, and head. Wasn't the headbutt just now quite unexpected? Their fighting style is relatively extreme. They rarely parry and attack with attack. Gushan Martial Arts School is close to Xingyi School. Didn't senior brother Dai use the downward chop with Tiger Hug?" Listening to his clear explanation, Qiu Hailin and the other students around him pricked up their ears. They listened and watched at the same time. Suddenly they understood a lot. They were no longer just watching and cheering. While talking, Lu Cheng frowned. "There is something wrong with senior brother Dai from Gushan Martial Arts School. He is so timid, as if he has never fought before. Is this possible? Is it because he is not focused enough and his mind is not on the arena? There are so many people watching." His words weren't loud, but many disciples of Gushan Martial Arts School could be considered to have trained their ears and eyes. They faintly heard him and looked over indignantly. However, School Master Chu Weikai was startled and then frowned. Suddenly, Lu Cheng's mind flashed and remembered the momentum of the professional 9th pin just now. Even though he was a distance away, he felt as if he was facing a vicious wolf in the wilderness. How would senior martial brother Dai, who was charging straight ahead, feel? Could it be that the person who provoked him just now affected his mind and left him with fear, so he couldn't concentrate for a while? Lu Cheng said to himself. To be able to directly exert this kind of influence on the mind, it was no longer the martial arts of the body refining level, but supernatural ability. The provocation just now was to create an opportunity for senior brother Dai to be affected mentally, so that he couldn't use his strength and failed miserably in front of the foundation's chairman. And this method couldn't be found out after the fact, so there was no way to explain it. No wonder the whole thing was so anticlimactic and confusing. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a few pairs of eyes looking at him. He looked over and saw that Gushin Martial Arts School's Chu Wei-kai was shocked. He retracted his gaze and grabbed the disciple beside him to ask in a low voice. The other pairs of eyes were from Mingwei Martial Arts School. Schoolmaster Ning Xuanli slowly turned his head and his eyes were half closed again. At this moment, Dai Linfeng's movements were slightly sluggish, and Zhou Jingyao seized the opportunity to hit him with a whip kick. He lost his center of gravity, broke his stance, and retreated quickly. Then he was attacked and directly fell out of the arena. Zhou Jingyao wins. The referee announced the result. Qiu Hailin, Chao Lele and the rest turned their heads and looked at Lu Cheng. They were quite surprised by his prediction just now. Cheng, you didn't learn anything else after joining the martial arts club, but your judgment and commentary skills have improved a lot. Qiu Hailin joked. Chao Lele also joined in and joked, even if you didn't learn any martial arts, you can still make a living with this. Before Lu Cheng could say anything, Jiang Fei beside him said loudly, Cheng not only has a good judgment and commentary skills, but his martial arts are also very good. I feel that he is no worse than the one on the arena just now. In a flash, everyone looked over. Some were surprised and some were amused, which made Lu Cheng blush slightly. Jiang Fei also lost his momentum and said with a dry laugh, It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. Seeing Lu Cheng looking at him with hidden bitterness, Jiang Fei hurriedly said in a low voice, You didn't say that I can't talk about your martial arts. I know that I can't brag about this kind of thing. It's embarrassing, so I'll leave it to you. You're welcome. Chapter 83. Lu Cheng was stunned. He carefully recalled what he told Fatty Jiang and realized that he didn't mention that he couldn't say that his martial arts had improved by leaps and bounds. He only asked him to forget that he had dealt with the thugs of the underworld in a few moves. Because of Fatty Jiang's surrender, there was a burst of good-natured laughter around, as if they had finally found something fun other than martial arts. Forget it, I don't intend to hide the fact that my martial arts level is close to the professional level. If I enter the finals of the National University Martial Arts Competition in the future, there will be satellite TV broadcasting, so I can't hide it even if I want to. It's just that I don't have to take the initiative to mention it in front of my high school classmates. If I tell everyone that I've recently awakened my martial arts talent and reached the professional level in less than half a year, I've even defeated 2 ninth pin experts, it'll be too obvious, too superficial, and too embarrassing. Damn it, isn't this what Fatty Jiang said just now? Lu Cheng calmed down as these thoughts flashed through his mind. He was calm and collected in front of everyone's gazes. He wasn't going to explain or prove himself. It's up to them whether they believe it or not. Fatty Jiang, your intuition is never right. Qiu Hailin teased him with a smile. She glanced at Lu Cheng and said, Hey, do we have to call you Hero Lu? Chao Lele also joined in. I can't believe I've been deskmates with a hero for 2 years. What an honor. Fatty Jiang was a little anxious when he saw the similar attitude of the students who heard the conversation just now. He was about to argue when Lu Cheng suddenly opened his mouth with a serious expression. You can't call me that. Chao Lele, Cheng Qili, Du Liu and the others were stunned, thinking that their joke had gone too far. Qiu Hailin subconsciously asked, Why? Lu Cheng suddenly laughed. You can't call me old. Call me young hero. Understand? Young hero Lu. Everyone around burst into laughter. Jiang Fei leaned forward and backward, his fat jiggling. Damn it, Cheng, you're getting funnier. Qiu Hailin also laughed. She looked at the person beside her and said, Lele, Cheng wasn't so talkative before, right? She studied in the capital and learned some local words and phrases. Chao Lele wiped the corners of her eyes. Although he wasn't introverted at that time, he wasn't so cheerful either. It's so funny. After joking around for a while, the disciples of Gushin Martial Arts School and Mingwei Martial Arts School retracted their gazes. It was too degrading to compare themselves with others bragging. At this moment, Dai Linfeng came back from the other side of the ring with a gloomy face, as if he had realized that he had been tricked. The chairman of the foundation, Wei Renjie, shook his head slightly and whispered a few words to old Wu beside him. He stood up and waved at Lu Cheng. I didn't expect there to be a student in our #1 middle school who is proficient in both the pen and the sword. Lu Cheng, come over and have a chat. Lu Cheng's comments about the competition were only heard by the nearby students, some disciples of the two martial arts schools who had good hearing and sight, and the club masters who had reached professional 9th pin. Due to the noise around, Wei Renjie didn't pay attention. However, Fatty Zhang's raised voice came into his ears and aroused his curiosity. He asked old Wu about Lu Cheng's name, school, and other information. As soon as he said that, 200 to 300 pairs of eyes fell on Lu Cheng, making him the center of attention in the arena. Qiu Hailin, Chao Lele, Du Liu and the others had strange expressions on their faces. They were worried that Wei Renjie would take Lu Cheng's words seriously and treat him as a master. If he made a fool of himself, he wouldn't be able to clean up the mess. On the other hand, Tao Xiaofei and the disciples of the two big martial arts clubs were gloating. Who told you to boast? Yao Kang, a disciple of Mingwei Martial Arts School who rarely looked away from his phone, also found it funny. He mentioned it to someone on QQ as an interesting thing. Lu Cheng deliberately stared at Jiang Fei, then left his seat and walked to the first row. He wasn't afraid of the chairman of the foundation at all. He didn't even respect him. As far as he was concerned, he had yet to enter society. Things like officials and leaders were vague. He was afraid of counselors, lecturers, professors, principals, and masters. It was only natural for him to be in awe of powerful martial artists. As for other things, he didn't expect much from others. A newborn calf wasn't afraid of tigers. Hello, Chairman, he said politely. Wei Renjie pointed at old Wu and teacher Exin beside him and said with a smile, just now, the two teachers were praising you. They said that you're hardworking and diligent. They said that you've caught up with them and got admitted to Songqing University. Not bad. God helps those who help themselves. When I was admitted to #1 middle school from a small town junior high school, my foundation was also very weak. Others took more than 6 years to learn foreign languages, but I only took 3 years. Others have already touched on the content of high school, but I don't know anything about it. But as long as you're willing to work hard and find the right method, you can still do it. Without waiting for Lu Cheng to answer, he made an empty seat for him and asked casually, I heard that you joined Songqing University Martial Arts Club. What's your level now? Lu Cheng thought for a while and said truthfully, I've only been practicing for a semester. Yes, he had only been practicing for a semester. As for the effect, that was another matter. At this time, the referee announced the start of the second match. Zhou Jingyao from Mingwei Martial Arts Club, who had just won, continued to fight against another disciple of amateur first pin from Gushan Martial Arts Club, Kong Feiyue. Wei Renjie watched the match and said, How do you feel after a semester of practice? Do you have a lot of actual combat? He knew from old Wu that Lu Cheng didn't have any foundation before, so he didn't think that he could improve by leaps and bounds after a semester of practice. He understood that it was just a group of boys and girls bragging. The reason why he asked Lu Cheng to come here was mainly to ask about something else. Our coach is an expert specially invited by the principal. It is said that he was at the level of physical invulnerability. He taught us very professionally, like still stance. With a few jokes, he let us understand the essence. As for actual combat, I'm sure he didn't have much actual combat experience, Lu Cheng answered frankly. Hearing that the coach of Songqing University Martial Arts Club was a former mighty one of physical invulnerability, Wei Renjie seemed to be more interested. He smiled and said, Lu Cheng, can you tell me in detail about your usual training schedule and actual combat preparation before the university martial arts competition? This is what I'm thinking. After the preliminaries have decided on the leading members and invited the leading members, we'll do intensive training and actual combat practice for the next preliminaries. Therefore, I'd like to ask you about the experience of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Let's communicate more. Seeing that his attitude was good, Lu Cheng organized his words and said, We usually have classes, so we can only train from 8 to 12 every day. But according to our coach, this is enough. At most, we can add 2 or 3 more hours. If we get tired of training, it's easy to hurt our body. Every time we train in the order of still stance, moving stance, strength training, footwork practice, fighting practice, and pair practice. As for actual combat, before the district competition of the University Martial Arts Competition, the main force and the substitutes will have actual combat competition under the supervision of the coach. Usually, we'll also be asked to participate in some small challenge tournaments nearby to accumulate experience. Wei Renjie listened attentively and asked his secretary to remember from time to time. In the end he said, "Not bad, not bad. The experience of Songqing University Martial Arts Club is worth learning." He then asked some specific questions. Lu Cheng answered truthfully if he knew something, and honestly if he didn't know something, he didn't make it up. When they finished the topic, the competition on the stage was also coming to an end. After a fierce battle, Zhou Jingyao defeated Kong Feiyue. But he was exhausted after 2 consecutive battles, so he voluntarily left the stage. The third match was between Xin Jinsong of Mingwei Martial Arts School and Qin Rui of Gushan Martial Arts School. The former was of amateur first pin, while the latter was of amateur second pin. "Qin Rui, come on." Under the leadership of Qiu Hailin, the students of Class 4 shouted and cheered loudly. Wei Renjie directly remembered this name, which made Qin Rui's body tremble slightly in the arena. "He's improved pretty fast." Lu Cheng thoughtfully cheered for his classmates. At the beginning of the second half of the third semester of high school, Qin Rui just passed the ranking event and reached amateur 4th pin. But now, in less than 11 months, he had improved a full 2 pins, which showed that he was indeed talented and hardworking. Looking at his tall and strong figure, he really had an advantage in the amateur level. After a hard battle, Shen Jingsong, who was taller than Qin Rui, barely defeated the 190-meter tall Qin Rui, which made Lu Cheng and the other students disappointed. After all, they were Qin Rui's relatives and friends. After losing all 3 battles, the people of Gushan Martial Arts School looked quite gloomy. Originally, the strength of both sides was about the same. But when the main force, Dai Linfeng, made a mistake, they naturally lost. But they still had to come to Wei Renjie with the people of Mingwei Martial Arts School and accept his post-match summary. After a long speech, Wei Renjie saw Lu Cheng next to him and suddenly smiled. He pointed to Zhou Jingyao, the main force of Mingwei Martial Arts School, and said, "Little friend Zhou, you are in the limelight today. Here is a student who is good at both civil and martial arts. He gave me a lot of advice just now. I think he is lacking in actual combat experience. Why don't you give him some pointers while the referee is still here?" He was very satisfied with Lu Cheng's honest answers, so he wanted to help him gain some actual combat experience. Lu Cheng was both amused and annoyed. "Am I lacking in combat experience?" Behind him, Jiang Fei immediately cheered loudly. He was quite confident in Lu Cheng. After all, Cheng wouldn't lie. If he said he had the strength of amateur first or second pin, then he definitely did. Even if he couldn't beat Zhou Jingyao, he could let his classmates know the power of Superman Cheng by fighting a fierce battle with him. Tao Xiaofei and the others were waiting for a good show, so they all cheered. Zhou Jingyao couldn't help but laugh, but he couldn't not give face to Wei Renjie, so he walked up to Lu Cheng, stretched out his hand and said, "Zhou Jingyao, what's your name?" Jing, as in the name of righteousness. Yao, as in the name of Xuanyu. Lu Cheng, Lu as in building, Cheng as in success. At this point, Lu Cheng didn't care anymore. Just fight. Anyway, Wang Su's enemies wouldn't suspect him. After all, they hadn't contacted each other for more than 3 years. Even if they knew he was good at martial arts, they wouldn't connect the two of them. There were too many people more suspicious than him. Shaking hands, Zhou Jiao pointed to the ring and said gracefully, "Please." Watching the two of them walking to the ring, Yao Kong, a disciple of Mingwei Martial Arts School, who had been playing with his mobile phone, saw a joking reply from a netizen. "Maybe that guy is really a master? Really a master?" Yao Kang's heart skipped a beat. He opened the browser, selected the search page and typed in Lu Cheng's name. After a click, the search result refreshed. He suddenly exclaimed because there was a private forum of Lu Cheng. Could it be him? Yao Kong clicked in and saw the two IDs, Eternal Nightfall and Brahmin, all over the forum. And there was a conspicuous photo in the forum name. It was the guy just now. With a slight change of expression, he found a video forum. He hurriedly entered and chose to watch. Lu Cheng versus Yao Ting. While watching, Yao Kang's face was drained of blood. White sweat broke out all over his body in the winter. He blurted out, "Senior brother Zhou, don't fight." The surroundings suddenly quieted down. Many blank and surprised eyes looked at him as if they were looking at a lunatic. Chapter 84. Senior brother Zhou, don't compete. Yao Kang's slightly hoarse shout reverberated in the small martial arts arena, attracting the attention of the crowd. They were all at a loss and were surprised. They didn't understand why this inner disciple of Mingwei Martial Arts School would become so agitated. There was even panic and fear in his voice. They also didn't understand why he wanted to stop a teaching competition that had no conflict of interest. Zhou Xingyao had been standing on the arena for a long time. He and Lu Cheng stood on the referee's left and right. The conversation was coming to an end, but he did not say anything. He wanted to let the newcomer adjust his state of mind and find the right state of mind. At this moment, he heard the shout and looked towards the seats. He frowned slightly, revealing his confusion and fear. Did something happen? Seeing that the chairman of the foundation, Wei Renjie, had also noticed them, the owner of Mingwei Martial Arts School, Ning Xuanli, suppressed his emotions and asked solemnly, "Yao Kong, why are you shouting? What's the matter?" Can't compete in this competition. That smiling guy opposite me is not a kitten, but a tiger. He is not an inexperienced teenager, but a mighty fighter of professional ninth pin who defeated him with terrifying attacks. This is a trap. A trap for the martial arts school to embarrass senior brother Zhou in front of the chairman. Yao Kang's thoughts flashed. He subconsciously felt that this kind of thing should not be said in public. For example, if the chairman was really interested in Lu Cheng's martial arts level, he would still promote the competition, but the roles of both sides would be reversed. What should I do? What should I do? Under everyone's gaze, he was anxious and irritated. Sweat poured out crazily and drenched his vest. He looked at Lu Cheng as if he was looking at a demon king. He mumbled incoherently and looked like he was about to be scolded. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and an idea came to him. He said in a frightened tone, "Master, senior brother Zhou, something happened in the martial arts school. I couldn't reach them on their phones, so they sent me a message on QQ. Let's go back quickly and talk while we go." Ning Xuanli, Zhou Xingyao and the rest gasped. All kinds of guesses came one after another. Yao Kang's expression did not seem to be fake. "Chairman, something urgent happened at home. Can we spar with Lu Cheng next time?" Ning Xuanli dared not delay and did not have time to think about the details, so he looked at Wei Renjie. Wei Renjie frowned slightly and immediately relaxed. He nodded and said, "Since it's urgent, you should go back quickly. If you need help, just call Huang." Goldie was his secretary. Zhou Xingyao glanced at Lu Cheng helplessly. He had wanted to use this opportunity to please the chairman, but now he could only smile bitterly and say, "Lu Cheng, let's find another chance in the future." Lu Cheng didn't know what had happened, so he politely replied, "Nothing." The Mingwei Martial Arts School was a time-honored shop for many years. What major changes could there be? In just 1 minute, under the lead of the panicked Yao Kong, a group of people from Mingwei Martial Arts School hurriedly left the Beiyuan Martial Arts Stadium, leaving Lu Cheng and the referee standing in the arena in a daze. Seeing his classmates looking back at him, Lu Cheng spread out his hands and said with a self-mocking and helpless smile, "It's a pity that I won't be able to show everyone my young hero Lu's elegance today." Puff! Some of the students who had overheard the previous conversation burst into laughter. Others also felt that Lu Cheng's response was appropriate and humorous. He easily resolved the awkwardness and unconsciously revealed a smile. "Cheng, I think you have a talent for crosstalk. Du Liu teased Lu Cheng as he walked off the stage. Yeah, you're so funny, Chow Lele added. Lu Cheng shook his head and said seriously, No, you're wrong. If it's crosstalk, I'm at most a supporting actor. There's someone else who's the funny one. I can't catch up with him. You really think so? Chow Lele and the other students burst into laughter again. The atmosphere became unusually relaxed. Chiu Hailin laughed for a while and pretended to be regretful. It's a pity that we didn't get to see young hero Lu's powerful martial arts today. When will you have time to show us a move or two? If there's a chance, Lu Cheng answered with a smile, unperturbed. Jiang Fei, who was beside him, was really regretful. He whispered, I was waiting to show off for you. What a pity that the Mingwei Martial Arts School had to be in trouble at this time. After such a scene, the students of Class 4 all knew that the scholar, Lu Cheng, who was not very cheerful before, had become humorous and interesting. It seemed that he also knew a little martial arts. After leaving Biwan, Wei Renjie returned to the city. The reunion continued. Tao Xiaofei took Old Wu and the others to the chess room. Du Liu, Xiong Tao and the others played basketball. A group of boys insisted on playing table tennis and badminton with the girls. A few of them walked outside in the cold mountain wind. Lu Cheng, Jiang Fei and Cheng Qili entered the free KTV. Under Lu Cheng's hint, Jiang Fei also persuaded Chiu Hailin and Chow Lele to come over to create an opportunity for Cheng Qili, who was privately known as the Prince of Love Songs. Listening to Cheng Qili singing the old song, the most beautiful, affectionately, and watching the girls whispering to each other, Lu Cheng didn't have the impulse to grab the microphone. Sitting in the corner of the sofa, he took out his mobile phone and sent a message to Yenjika with a snickering emoji. I almost got the limelight today. After a while, Yenjika sent a blank emoji. Did some hooligans chase after the girls in your class and keep harassing them? Did you teach them a lesson? Or did someone confess to the girl you secretly like and you also stood out on impulse? At the critical moment, you snatched the bride, rush to express your feelings? What kind of speculation are you making? Lu Cheng expressed his feelings with ellipses. Aren't you the girl I secretly like? At this time, the song echoed around them. You are the most beautiful in my heart. Yenjika sent a smiling emoji. Isn't this often written in novels? What kind of novel are you reading? Lu Cheng sent a dazed emoji. Yenjika sent a proud emoji with shining teeth. Romance novel. Is there a problem? No, there's no problem. I'll beat up whoever says there is a problem. Lu Cheng replied flatteringly and changed the topic. Didn't I mention that Xiushan is going to organize a preliminaries team? Yeah, your classmate from Gushan Martial Arts School is going to compete with Mingwei Martial Arts School in the North Garden of the Conference Villa. They want you to go and cheer for them. Did you challenge both of them? That's not like you. Yenjika pushed up her glasses and said, She knows me well. Lu Cheng felt happy in his heart and the smile on his face became bigger. My parents gave birth to me, but Coach Yen knows me well. When we met up with Gushan Martial Arts School on the way to the North Garden, we met a professional 9th pin master. He pretended to have a small conflict and attacked Dai something senior from Gushan Martial Arts School. The professional 9th pin master? Could it be the professional 9th pin master who attacked your childhood friend's gang that night? Otherwise, how could we meet two young professional 9th pin masters in Xiushan? Yenjika sent a contemplative emoji. Lu Cheng sent a sniffling emoji. It can't be so coincidental, right? It's almost Chinese New Year. It's normal for those professional 9th pin masters to go home for Chinese New Year. Yenjika sent a, who am I, where am I, what am I doing emoji and said, but I don't think it's so coincidental. I recall that the next morning after your childhood friend's bar was attacked by a professional 9th pin master, Gushan Martial Arts School received a challenge from Mingwei Martial Arts School, which led to today's competition. On the way, a professional 9th pin master came to pick a fight. Is it a coincidence? Well, now that you mention it, it's possible. Wang Su said that no one was killed that day and the matter was suppressed. That professional 9th pin master really dared to move around. Lu Cheng recalled the details and found that Yenjika's words made sense. He praised her from the bottom of his heart. "You're really wise, Coach Yen." It seemed that Wang Su's opponent was inextricably linked to Mingwei Martial Arts School. Since the professional 9th Pin Master's attack didn't succeed, he might as well use it on the preliminaries. Yenjika sent a gleaming white teeth emoji and said, "Now you understand my reasoning ability? I've read countless detective novels and comics such as Sherlock Holmes, Agatha, Ling Xiao, Kenichi, Detective Conan, and so on. I'm a master who has mastered 1785 secret room killing methods." "Are there so many secret room killing methods?" Lu Cheng asked subconsciously. He used to be addicted to detective novels. Yenjika sent a laughing with arms akimbo emoji and said, "Don't worry about these details. Please call me Detective Famous." "Okay, Miss Detective Yen," Lu Cheng said with a prostrating emoji. "Miss, I'm not that old yet. It's not serious enough to call me classmate." Yenjika sent a so embarrassed emoji. Lu Cheng had an idea and sent a smirk emoji. "Then I'll call you Detective Fairy." Yenjika seemed to be speechless. Fatty Jiang glanced at Lu Cheng, then turned his head to look at Chao Lele and Chiu Hailin who were singing together. He clicked his tongue and said, "Cheng, your smile is so F***king. How do I put it? Disgusting. If you're so capable, you can also find a girl who is so disgusting." Lu Cheng mocked Jiang Fei, who had been single for thousands of years. Jiang Fei's expression suddenly became sluggish. He felt the cold wind and was hurt by 10,000 points. Lu Cheng didn't care about him. He saw Yenjika finally replied. "Then what?" With a big smile on his face, Lu Cheng typed quickly, "That professional 9th Pin fighter didn't directly hurt Senior Dai as I thought he would. Instead, he just bumped into him and left quickly. But when they bumped into each other, I happened to be using the condensation stance and felt like I was in the desolate wilderness facing a wolf. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it. But when Senior Dai started to shrink back and seemed to be unable to concentrate, I started to suspect that the professional 9th Pin fighter just now had a supernatural ability to affect my mind without leaving any trace, planting fear and changing the result of the match. It's not necessarily a supernatural ability. Secret Manual of Killing and Dark Infinite Scripture have similar secret methods of spiritual aura, which are quite strange. To put it more accurately, they are the unique skills of the Death Sect and Dark Sect. Yenjika said with an "I'm very serious" emoji. It was the first time Lu Cheng heard about this. He was surprised and impressed. "Coach Yen, you know so much." Yenjika said with a snickering emoji, "I used to be in poor health and had no hope in martial arts, so I was quite passive in this aspect. Hobbies are just hobbies. I wouldn't purposely look through Grandpa's bookcase. But now I've thought it through. Even if I can't enter the dance stage, it's still a wonderful thing to be a professional 9th Pin fighter. So I'm very interested in Grandpa's bookcase and look for a few books to read from time to time." On the minibus going down the mountain, Zhou Jingyao stared at Yao Kong and said in a low voice, "What's going on?" "The martial arts school is fine." He had already called the junior who stayed in the martial arts school. Yao Kong passed the phone to him and said, "Senior Zhou, look at these videos. They are the videos of that student, Lu Cheng's competition." His face was slightly pale with fear, but there was a hint of pride in his expression. He felt that he had stopped a plot against his own martial arts school. Zhou Jingyao looked at him suspiciously and watched the videos with the other junior brothers. The schoolmaster, Ning Xuanli, sat at the side and waited for the report after seeing that the martial arts school was fine. While watching the videos, Zhou Jingyao suddenly raised his head and looked at Yao Kong in horror. He blurted out, "Is this really that Lu Cheng?" Not to mention Lu Cheng, even the girl of professional 9th Pin who was competing with him was powerful enough to beat the crap out of him. How powerful was Lu Cheng, who defeated his opponent with violent attacks? If they were to have a teaching competition, the result would be unimaginable. Yao Kong recalled what he had seen and still trembled a little. "I've checked the information, it's him. This is a trap for us." Ning Xuanli was getting more and more confused. He said hurriedly, "Give me the phone." Chapter 85. It was the first time that Zhou Xingyao, Yao Kong and the rest of the disciples were trembling in fear. They were no longer as arrogant as they were before, and the hostility between their eyebrows had faded away. They looked at their master, Ning Xuanli, and waited for him to make a decision. Ning Xuanli first watched the video of Lu Cheng's fight with Yi Yaoting. At the beginning, he was not surprised at all. But when Lu Cheng suddenly went berserk, like the collapse of thousands of years of snow, and the power of his attacks made people's scalp numb. Only then did Ning Xuanli's eyes suddenly sharpen and unconsciously let out a sound of This kind of outburst. Did he use a unique skill that overdrew his potential, or did he awaken something? He muttered to himself. Without saying more, he quickly exited the video and watched the highlights of Lu Cheng's fights with Shou Yuaning, Wang Yi, Wu Shitong and Jin Tao. As he read on, Ning Xuanli gasped in astonishment. Mercurial balance, he actually mastered mercurial balance. Has he achieved great success in meditation? Listening skill. This kind of listening skill is also not to be underestimated. To be able to fight so many 24 snow strikes consecutively, his physical strength is simply a monster. Every word he said was like a drum that heavily hammered on the hearts of Zhou Xingyao and the other disciples, making their faces paler and more dignified. The screen of the phone dimmed and naturally locked. Ning Xuanli did not say anything for a long time. When the bus was about to enter the SC area, he looked at Yao Kong and passed the phone to him. Not bad, you did well this time, your reaction was quite fast. After praising Yao Kong, he sighed with emotion to all the disciples. I didn't expect Gushin martial arts school to be so cunning. Fortunately, little Yao is smart and found out in advance, or else all our previous efforts would have been in vain. What was the purpose of letting a professional ninth pin with a special unique skill interfere with the opponent's leader? Wasn't it to suppress Gushin martial arts school in front of Chairman Wei Renjie and leave a deep impression on him so that they could get more resources for the preliminaries after the new year? This was not only reflected in the money, but also in the status of Xioshan martial arts circle. The benefits were not small. And with this condition, there was a high chance for Gushin martial arts school to go further than other martial arts schools in the preliminaries. That was to get the right to lead the next preliminaries, rely on the government to seize resources and become the uncrowned Wulin League leader of Xioshan. If Zhou Xingyao was defeated by Lu Cheng in the blink of an eye, what would the chairman, Wei Renjie, think? Zhou Xingyao had a shocked expression on his face. He patted Yao Kang's shoulder and said, Normally, I thought that it was not good for Yao Kang to be so addicted to the internet, but now, I realize that there is a good side to everything. Yao Kang was praised by his master and his strongest senior brother again and again. He felt like he was floating in the air. He blurted out without thinking, Fortunately, we also made arrangements in advance and completely defeated Gushin martial arts school. Otherwise, I really don't know what kind of trouble they would have caused. They could only hope that both sides would suffer. Compared to that person? After rejoicing, Zhou Xingyao couldn't help but ask curiously, How is that possible? Then how could he defeat a fighter of professional ninth pin? A group of disciples blurted out in disbelief. Ning Xuanli's eyes turned cloudy, he sighed. This is an intuitive feeling brought by vigorous qi and blood. If you can get in touch with more young professional ninth pin fighters instead of old guys like me whose body is deteriorating, you will be able to confirm Lu Cheng's condition. Since he has not shown the strength of Danqi state, it is easy to come to a conclusion. Sigh, it seems that you have to participate in the preliminaries. Even if you don't have the golden foundation, you still have to participate. Otherwise, if you always stay in a small place like Xioshan and don't get in touch with the masters outside, you will only become more short-sighted. Seeing that his master was so confident, Zhou Xingyao chose to believe him. He said thoughtfully, Then how did he defeat a professional ninth pin fighter? Do I have a chance to defeat him? He should have 2 talents, meditation and physical strength. The former allowed him to master a good listening skill and the basic ability of Danchi state, mercurial balance. The latter allowed him to not worry about not having enough physical strength to support his strength. When he fully utilized his strength and restrained his opponent, it would not be strange for him to win. Ning Xuanli sighed and said, "Xingyao, don't be fooled by his lack of professional ninth pin physical fitness. If you really fought with him, there would only be one result, and that would be a crushing defeat. As for how crushing it would be, it would depend on your performance." Zhou Xingyao felt lucky again. "Luckily I didn't fight with him, or else the consequences would be unimaginable. That would be a huge loss of face." Looking at the curious and frightened eyes of Yao Kong and the other disciples, Ning Xuanli continued, "Compared to that guy, I'm not sure where his last burst of strength came from, so it's hard to judge. I can only say that his conventional strength is definitely weaker." The disciples nodded slightly and each had their own thoughts. Suddenly, Zhou Xingyao's expression changed. He said in a low voice, "Is Gushen Martial Arts School going to promote him as the leading fighter of the preliminaries? He graduated from number 1 middle school, so he should be a master born and bred in Xioshan. If that was the case, the advantage that master and the rest of them had painstakingly planned for would be gone. The formation of the team for the preliminaries would definitely seek the opinion of the leading fighter." Yao Kong and the others suddenly woke up. They did not expect Gushen Martial Arts School to have such a drastic move. Panic appeared on their faces. According to the original plan, they planned to use this advantage to recommend a professional powerhouse who had some connections with them after they had obtained the right to take control of the competition. "Master, should we quickly contact a few professional masters from Xioshan?" a disciple quickly asked. Ning Xuanli waved his hand, his cloudy eyes were calm. "Don't worry, it's not a good thing for all the martial arts schools to decide on the leading fighter too early. You guys can see for yourselves, and Lu Cheng will not be the leading fighter." "But, Master, why are you so sure? You don't even know him?" Yao Kong asked blankly. Ning Xuanli chuckled. "He has the strength close to professional level at the age of 18, and possesses the two great talents of meditation and physical strength. Would such a person like him be interested in the leading fighter of the preliminaries in a small place like Xioshan? Moreover, he's studying in a university in another city. Wouldn't it be tiring for him to travel back and forth once or twice a week? Money makes the world go round. As long as the conditions are right, why can't he join a hometown team? Isn't he studying in a university to earn money?" Zhou Xingyao frowned. Ning Xuanli calmly replied, "His fighting style is 24 blizzard strikes, and he has already mastered it. Obviously, he has inherited it and has his own way of development. If he really wants to gain more combat experience, he doesn't lack methods, and he won't be too concerned about money for now. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. He probably helped Gushen Martial Arts School because of his classmate, Xin Rui. This kind of person with potential and inheritance may have the potential to become a high-ranked Dan stage fighter in the future. Even if you can't rope him in, don't offend him. We won't be in the same circle for a long time, and there won't be any conflicts of interest. Understand?" Zhou Xingyao, Yao Kong and the rest nodded solemnly. Understood. To be honest, after discovering that Lu Cheng was so strong and so young, as one of the few masters in Xioshan, Zhou Xingyao was a little in awe and also a little jealous. He was afraid that Lu Cheng would steal the limelight and occupy the position. Now that he heard his master's explanation, he immediately calmed down and was more in awe and admiration. "That's right, we won't be in the same circle. What's the point of fighting?" Ning Xuanli half closed his eyes again as usual and sighed in his heart. "Of course you won't be in the same circle. How can a sparrow and a swan be in the same circle?" In the free KTV of the conference villa, under the urging of Jiang Fei and Lu Cheng, Qiu Hailin generously sang an old song with Cheng Qili. Their voices echoed in the room, each with its own unique characteristics. While listening to the song, Lu Cheng was still holding his phone and chatting with Yan Zhika about what happened before. He had already reached the end of the conversation. It's a pity that something happened to Mingwei Martial Arts School at that time. Otherwise, I would have already shown my power and made my classmates' jaws drop to the ground. Yenjika laughed while covering her mouth. That's right, that's right. I'm still waiting for young hero Lu to make a dazzling appearance and shock Xioshan so that I can feel honored. At that time, I can tell those who don't believe me. Lu Cheng in the next class is the genius I was talking about. Sigh, I missed the opportunity to show off just like that. Lu Cheng deliberately sent an emoji of beating chest and stamping feet. Yenjika touched her head and said, "Actually, it's good that you didn't fight. Getting involved in the fight for the right to lead the preliminaries will probably cause a lot of trouble. By the way, what are you doing? Is the class reunion fun?" "What am I doing?" "Chatting with you," Lu Cheng said with a smirk. The most interesting part of a class reunion is actually gathering together to chat and reminisce about the past and gossip. Yenjika sat and nodded. Well, sometimes I miss the high school life. Does this mean that we are getting older? The older we are, the more we miss. I think it's the nostalgia for the past life. Lu Cheng tried to hold back his laughter. Girl, you are only 18 years old. And you are almost 1 year younger than me. My birthday is on February 2nd and yours is on December 9th. Speaking of which, it's almost my birthday. Previously on Yenjika's birthday, he didn't dare to give her a present because their relationship wasn't as close as now. But don't think that you can avoid the question. I just asked what you are doing now. Yenjika deliberately said with an emoji of anger. Lu Cheng snickered and replied, Fatty Jiang and the others are singing karaoke. I am hiding in the corner and chatting with you. Hee hee, why aren't you singing karaoke? Didn't you say you are a microphone hog? Yenjika asked with a smile. Lu Cheng thought for a while and carefully said, You have to prioritize things. How can singing karaoke be more important than chatting? Yenjika replied with a smirk and didn't say much. After chatting for a while, her reply slowed down because her parents were finally on vacation and had flown to Jiangnan. She missed her parents so much that she had to follow them to pick them up. Lu Cheng had nothing to do. At this time, two figures appeared in front of him. Qiu Hailin and Chao Lele saw that he finally put down his phone and came over to tease him. Cheng, are you chatting with your girlfriend? Why don't you sing with us? Their voices echoed and they had to come closer to talk. Haha, I am still a little bit away from being a girlfriend. Lu Cheng said frankly. Although he didn't say it was Yenjika to avoid embarrassment, there was no need to hide the fact that he had a sweetheart. Qiu Hailin said, Oh, then you have to work hard. Du Liu is no longer single. Go and choose a song. Don't just listen to us sing. That's right. Cheng, come on, let's sing Little Apple. Jiang Fei cheered during the break. Lu Cheng smiled and didn't refuse. He stood up and took over the microphone. After singing a few songs, he felt a little stuffy in the room, so he walked out of the room to get some fresh air. Looking at his back, Qiu Hailin whispered into Chao Lele's ear, Cheng has changed so much. Not as much as you, monitor. Chao Lele joked. Qiu Hailin shook her head. It's not the same. I changed in appearance, but he changed from inside out. He has a temperament. That's true. I have been deskmates with Lu Cheng for 2 years. Although I feel that he is not a stuffy person, he is good at chatting and is quite humorous. But he is totally different from now. At that time, he seemed to lack confidence and was not generous enough. He seemed to be more timid. Chao Lele was a girl who was good at observing others. Qiu Hailin teased, Why? Are you moved? What a pity. Your old deskmate has a target. But how is that possible? I like the pretty boy type. Chao Lele retorted with a smile. Coming out of the room, Lu Cheng walked through the hall and came out. The cold air blew on his face, making him feel refreshed. Not far away, Xin Rui was squatting by the frozen pond, smoking and looking depressed. What's wrong? Haven't you recovered yet? Lu Cheng walked over and asked. Xin Rui sighed. I know you will persuade me that winning and losing is a common thing for martial artists. But I always feel depressed. No. I won't persuade you. Failure is failure. How can it be a common thing? What I want to persuade is that after knowing the pain of failure, you should work harder instead of smoking here. Lu Cheng told him how he felt at that time. Qin Rui was stunned and looked at Lu Cheng. Why do I feel that what you said makes sense? Haha, right? Since you want to work harder, quit smoking. Smoking is bad for your lungs. You should know how important the lungs are in martial arts. Lu Cheng persuaded. Of course, it was their business whether they listened or not. He wouldn't force them. But Qin Rui thought for a moment and put out the cigarette. He looked more determined. Cheng, I'll call you Cheng. Don't lower yourself to Tao Xiaofei's level. He is a good person, but he doesn't know how to take care of others' feelings. Don't worry. I don't care about that. Lu Cheng answered calmly. They chatted for a while. Qin Rui, who had regained his morale, couldn't wait to start training on the spot. He said to Lu Cheng, I've met my classmates, chatted with them, and drank with them. This gathering is worth it. There should be nothing else. You tell Monitor that I'll go back first. Haha, since the martial arts school lost the competition, I think it's better to be with them. Be careful on your way back. Lu Cheng reminded him. Qin Rui also teased him. It's a pity that I couldn't see young hero Lu's style today. Show me some of your moves when you have time. He entered the main city of Xioshan by an online taxi. He went back home first and then went to Gushan Martial Arts School. When he passed by Mingwei Martial Arts School, he happened to see Zhou Jingyao coming out. Damn, I should have taken a detour. Qin Rui felt that he would be laughed at and irritated by Zhou Jingyao's arrogance. But he was sure that he couldn't beat him. Hey, Qin Rui, your class reunion is over? Zhou Jingyao was surprised to see Qin Rui, but then he greeted him with a smile. Qin Rui said sullenly, No. I came back early. It's none of your business. Zhou Jingyao tried to make his smile friendly. You fought well before, but you were a bit impatient. You should be able to improve after you get rid of your temper. Well, I have something to do. Let's talk more when we have time. Qin Rui was confused. It was the first time that he saw such a kind Zhou Jingyao. Seeing Zhou Jingyao's back disappear on the other side of the road, he finally came to himself. He touched his cheek and blurted out, Psycho! Inexplicable! Chapter 86. Watching Qin Rui leave, Lu Cheng retracted his gaze and looked at the frozen pond in front of him. Faint sounds of mahjong tiles colliding, indistinct singing, the sound of a basketball hitting the ground, and the cheerful laughter of his classmates could be heard. In front of him was his reflection on the ice, as if he had traveled back in time from high school. At that time, his face was not well defined enough. At that time, his body was thin and he often felt tired. At that time, he was not generous enough and was timid in his words and actions. It was not because he was introverted and did not like to deal with unfamiliar people, but because when facing others, unless he had a very good relationship with them, he would always think too much. He would worry about whether his words would be ambiguous, whether it would be inappropriate, or whether his words would leave a bad impression on others. He had too many scruples and thought too much, so he became more and more anxious, and the more anxious he was, the worse his performance was. But now, through the example of little Ming, the high spirit brought by the training of martial arts, and the confidence accumulated by the victories in the challenge tournament, he finally understood that many times, there was no need to think too much or care too much about other people's opinions. Just like in a martial arts competition, being overcautious and hesitant would only lead to failure. Similarly, many times what one said was secondary. As long as the words conveyed the idea, it was enough. The most important thing was to use this to show confidence and sincerity. Of course, it was not wrong to be a little humorous. Thoughts fluctuated and Lu Cheng's mind gradually settled down. His classmates were still singing, playing basketball, playing chess, and climbing. It seemed that he was the only one, looking for peace in the bustle and reminiscing about the past in the cold wind. Familiar voices came into his ears one by one. In a trance, he seemed to be back in high school. It was hard and depressing, but at that time, it was really hard and depressing. When the sun had just risen, he had already sat in the classroom and started the morning self-study. It was already late at night, and he hadn't returned home yet. Taking advantage of the time when the evening class was over, He hurried to do his homework and discuss with the students who lived on campus. His time was occupied by one class after another, and one exam after another, and his youth seemed to have become pale because of it. However, now that he thought about it, there were also some happy bits and pieces in the midst of all this hardship and depression. It was the joy of finally getting a satisfactory score and a satisfactory ranking in the exam. It was the joy of finally finishing homework ahead of time and being able to go home and relax. It was the beauty of taking a break from the busy class and telling all sorts of interesting stories to his desk mate, the one in front of him and the one behind him. It was the wanton display of playing and chatting during the break, the satisfaction of secretly watching Yenjika during the radio exercises, and the different jokes and care brought by different teachers. It was when Jiang Fei, Cheng Qili, and Jiang Fei would occasionally go out of school to play games and surf the net to vent their feelings. It was when they fervently chased after martial arts masters and collected their posters. It was when they crazily slept until noon on holidays. It was when they read novels intermittently in their free time. Bit by bit, yesterday repeated itself. This was his flowering season and rainy season. This was his high school life. This was his youth that he could never go back to. The cold wind blew in his face. Lu Cheng suddenly laughed because he thought of a saying, "Man is a vulgar animal." In the present, which is full of variables and unknowns, he is like a hungry beast. He will only wolf down his food and taste it. When everything is over and he recalls the past, the little bit of beauty will ferment and be able to taste it. However, it can no longer be reproduced. No wonder there was such a thing as the rebirth novel. Sometimes, it was not about changing history, but about savoring the past. After sighing with emotion for a long time, he suppressed these thoughts and returned to the KTV box. He sang while chatting with Yenjika. At 4 o'clock, they felt it was too stuffy here, so they went out for a walk. Looking at the beautiful mountain scenery, breathing in the cold and fresh air, they talked and laughed about their embarrassing past. At 5:30, the tour bus came again and took Lu Cheng and the others back to Xioshan. Dinner was a whole roasted lamb. After that, there was no more activity. Everyone went back to their own homes. During the meal, some people talked with assurance, some laughed, some listened quietly, and some whispered. Lu Cheng made a fortune in silence and ate to his heart's content. At the end of the meal, Qiu Hailin, who was sitting at the same table as Old Wu, stood up and held a glass with a thin layer of red wine in it. She looked around and suddenly burst into laughter when she saw Lu Cheng's table. "Fatty Jiang, you really eat a lot. You finished so much roasted lamb. There is still a lot left at other tables. No wonder you are so fat." Fatty Jiang looked aggrieved and glanced at Lu Cheng with hidden bitterness. "I didn't eat much. I was just chatting, drinking, and bragging." Brothers are used as scapegoats. Lu Cheng patted him on the shoulder silently. Using this topic to attract the attention of all the classmates, Qiu Hailin said in a clear voice, "For this class reunion, let's start off with a toast to Teacher Wu and Teacher Exin. Then, when we end it, let's toast to each other and ourselves. I know that everyone will go their separate ways in the future and have their own opportunities, so we might not have many chances to meet again. But I hope that we will never forget our friendship as classmates. You have to know that in these 3 years, yes, for some of you who came here in the second year of high school, we have spent more time together than our parents and relatives. Our memories belong to each other. Let's drink to our friendship on the long journey. A smile when we meet is enough." She is indeed from the school's speech club. Lu Cheng smiled and raised his glass with water instead of wine. He knew that Qiu Hailin had joined the speech club in Capital College. Cheers! After a shout in unison, everyone drank the drinks in their glasses, looking excited and sentimental. After that, people left one after another. Lu Cheng and Jiang Fei fought until the end to wait for Cheng Qili, and Cheng Qili fought until the end to talk more with Qiu Hailin. In his eyes, there were several tables full of messy cups and plates, just like the mess after a feast, and also like waking up from a beautiful dream. Lu Cheng took a deep look, exhaled, and turned to leave. He was the last one in this class reunion. Memories end here. The past can't be chased anymore. Now I need to know how to grasp the present. Just like Chung Chili chasing Chiu Hailin. Just like me chasing Yenjika. A few days after the reunion, it was the end of January, New Year's Eve. Lu Qing watched his parents pack up for the trip to Grandpa's house. He thought for a while and walked to the balcony. Facing the pot of chives he planted, he took out his phone. At night, he had to chat with his family, chat with Yenjika, send New Year's greetings to Kai Xiaoming and other friends, and call his master in the afternoon to express his gratitude. After the ringtone, Lu Qing heard a familiar hoarse voice. Not bad, you still remember to call me. Yes, Happy New Year, Master. Lu Qing said with a smile. Happy? Geezer sure said in a bad mood. Being controlled, you have to be sneaky even when smoking and drinking. Who is it? Lu Qing asked with a smile. Master usually looks like a lonely old man. If her thoughts were to be found out by him, she would definitely get a good beating. Geezer sure sighed. My daughter and son-in-law. Then please send my greetings to senior sister and her husband. Lu Qing said politely. Hee. Master's tone didn't sound unhappy. As the saying goes, don't talk, but your body is honest. After a few words of greeting, Geezer sure said, since you called, I have something to tell you first. What is it? Lu Qing was surprised and curious. Geezer sure coughed a few times and said, next semester is the national competition, which has nothing to do with us. There are 8 or 9 months between the start of the semester and the next district competition. It's not enough to just practice and set moves in such a long time. I have to find some real combat practice for you guys. Otherwise, who can you beat when it comes to the district competition? Real combat practice? Lu Qing was excited. Geezer sure said, the other schools usually find the martial arts clubs or martial arts schools nearby to exchange training, or participate in the small challenge tournament not far away in batches. I think that the intensity of real combat is not enough. How can you face the top teams in Shanbei in the future? Since you almost have the strength of a quasi-professional, and with the growth of Lin Kei and the others, you can form a team to participate in the preliminaries after the new year. Preliminaries? Lu Qing blurted out in surprise. He was going to participate in the preliminaries? Why are you surprised to hear about the preliminaries? You can have more real combat practice with the strong. Anyway, you can't go too far in the preliminaries and delay the martial arts competition's district competition in the second half of the year. Work hard, maybe you can get some secret manuals or share the bonus. Geezer sure laughed and scolded him. For some reason, Lu Qing suddenly felt a surge of excitement. Preliminaries. The entrance competition of the professional martial arts circle. But, Master, will it delay my usual study? The preliminaries have home and away games. He asked worriedly. Geezer sure snorted and said, are you looking down on your master? When the time comes, I'll inform the chairman to arrange our away games on the weekend. Anyway, it's a division, so it's not too far away. Then he added, you have to practice hard and seize this opportunity to improve. At the end of April, directly sign up for the ranking event of Professional 9th Pin. Directly sign up for the ranking event of Professional 9th Pin. Lu Qing took a deep breath and was immediately filled with excitement. The first ranking event of Professional 9th Pin? That's right. A man should have a goal. After ending the call, he couldn't wait to share this with Yenjika immediately. But after thinking about it, he decided to wait until the new year and then call her to tell her. Then he would have an excuse to enter the new year with Yenjika while listening to the sound of firecrackers and each other's breathing. Then he could occupy her time from the old year to the new year. I'm so smart. Back in the living room, Lu Qing saw that his parents were almost done with tidying up. He quietly went back to the room and took out the gifts for them. Chapter 87. Carrying 2 bags, Lu Qing suddenly felt a little embarrassed and couldn't say the words he had prepared. He said blankly, Dad, Mom, these are my gifts for you. Gifts? Lu Qing's mom put down the things in her hands and looked at him with surprise and suspicion. Why do you want to buy us gifts? Did you do something wrong at school? Don't worry, we won't blame you. Seeing that his mother had such a misunderstanding, Lu Cheng almost burst out laughing. His embarrassment dissipated a lot. He handed over the gifts and explained, "No, I bought them with the first sum of money I earned on my own. The gift for Dad is a woolen sweater, and the gift for you is 2 sets of warm autumn wear. Try them on and see if they fit." "You bought them with the first money you earned?" Lu Cheng's mom was stunned at first and then couldn't hide her smile. She said happily, "Oh, you know how to be filial. Oh, it's good to have such a heart." Lu Cheng's dad took the bags and took out the woolen sweater. He coughed and said, "Why buy gifts? You're still in school and it's not easy to earn money. Keep it for yourself. Your mom and dad don't lack clothes." While speaking, he held the woolen sweater tightly in his right hand, as if no one could take it away from him. Seeing this, Lu Cheng felt funny and wanted to cry. He held back his emotions and said, "Don't worry, I have my own private savings. See if they fit." Lu Cheng's mom's eyes were red. She looked at the label and nagged, "You should tell us if you want to buy clothes as gifts. If you don't buy the right ones, we have to wait for a few days before we can change them. Do you have a receipt? Hey, they fit. The size is right." Hey, I secretly checked your wardrobe." Lu Cheng surrendered. "You little brat, you're getting smarter and smarter." Lu Cheng's mom laughed and scolded. Lu Cheng's dad looked at the label, pushed up his glasses and wiped the corner of his eyes. He said, "You earned this money from part-time work?" "No, didn't I tell you that I joined the university martial arts club? I found that I had some martial arts talent and improved quickly. During the holidays, I signed up for a challenge tournament and entered the elimination stage. I got a few thousand yuan in prize money." Lu Cheng reduced the 15,000 yuan to a few thousand yuan. This was not an intentional lie to his parents, but a practical consideration. Ever since he started high school, he didn't need to hand in his lucky money and could keep it for himself. His family wasn't very strict when it came to money. However, if he kept a bonus of 10,000 or more in his own hands, his mother would be worried. She was afraid that he would squander it all. After all, he was still a student who hadn't officially entered society yet. If she offered to help him save 10,000 yuan as a daughter-in-law's book, there was no way he could refuse. He couldn't say that it was to chase after their future daughter-in-law, right? Martial arts competition? It was very easy to get hurt. Why do you want to participate in the competition? Are you hurt? Lu Cheng's mother was shocked and asked a lot of questions. Lu Cheng posed like a bodybuilder. "Mom, look at me. I'm so lively. How do I look like I'm injured?" Moreover, there are high-level referees and supervisors in official competitions. Minor injuries are not a problem, and serious injuries are already very rare. That won't do. Accidents are bound to happen, Lu Cheng's mother said worriedly. Lu Cheng smiled and said, "If you really want to talk about accidents, it's not safe to take the bus. Can we not take the bus?" "But, don't jinx it." Lu Cheng's mother waved her hand. At this time, Lu Cheng's father opened his mouth and said with a smile, Okay, don't say any more. I feel that Ching has changed a lot since he came home this time. He's more cheerful and has his own opinions." After a pause, he turned his eyes to Lu Cheng. "You're now an adult. Since you've made such a choice, we respect your choice. But I just want to remind you. First, don't neglect your studies. Second, don't give up the path you've chosen. No matter how hard or tiring it is, remember that you've chosen it yourself. Instead, I've chosen the path myself. I'll finish it even if I have to kneel down." Lu Cheng replied using the popular words on the internet. Lu Cheng's mother glared at his father. "What adult? You've just started college. How can you be considered an adult? In our time, there were a lot of 18-year-olds who had babies." Lu Cheng's father replied in a low voice. Then you didn't have a girlfriend at the age of 26. Lu Cheng's mother exposed him. Seeing that his mother and father had stopped arguing about martial arts, Lu Cheng heaved a sigh of relief. He busied himself with packing up the last bit of things. "Hey, now you know how to show off." Lu Cheng's mother looked at him unhappily. "Come, help me carry these things." The lackey carried the things and Lu Cheng led the way. They went out of the neighborhood and went straight to the bus stop. It was New Year's Eve. In a city like Xiaoshan, there were basically no online car-hailing services. They could only wait for a taxi or bus. Of course, when they came back at night, Lu Cheng's father and mother had other ways. They knew several people in the neighborhood who drove for a living, which was commonly known as little black cars. They just needed to call and pay a little more and someone would come to pick them up. This was the advantage of being neighbors who used to work in the same factory and were quite familiar with each other. It was also a small detail in the life of ordinary citizens. After 9 stops, the family of 3 took a bus and arrived at Lu Cheng's grandparents' house. This was an elevator apartment that had been built in recent years. The old couple sold their old house as a down payment and lived here with Lu Cheng's second uncle. The elevator went up and arrived at the 16th floor. Lu Cheng knocked on the security door. After a while, the door opened. A young man in his 20s said with a smile, "Cheng, you've been back for so many days. Why don't you come over for a meal?" Lu Cheng took out his slippers as if he were at home. He changed into his slippers and said, Hey, too many classmates asked me out." The man in front of him was his cousin, Lu Yanwei, who was about 1.75 meters tall. He was not fat but had a round face. His facial features were characteristic of the Lu family. He was filial and lively. He took good care of his younger siblings. During the 3rd year of junior high school, Lu Cheng's family situation was not good. He barely had any pocket money. It was only because of this cousin that he didn't feel inferior. At that time, he was the good brother of China in his heart. Lu Yanwei was good at everything, but he was too restless. When he was in his 3rd year of senior high school, he felt that college was boring, so he went to work early. Later, he quit his job and started his own business. He ran a milk tea shop, a cake shop, a taobao shop, and even a restaurant. However, these businesses either didn't make any money or were doing well in the beginning. He had no choice but to close them down. After a few years, his parents, who were also his second uncle and second aunt, were almost emptied out. He had no choice but to go back to his old place to work. "Not bad. You're doing well," Lu Yanwei said with a smile. He took out a pair of slippers from the shoe cabinet and handed them to Lu Cheng's parents. "Big Dad, Andy, come in. It's windy outside." Lu Cheng's father was the oldest among the 3 siblings. However, because he focused on his studies, he didn't get married until he was 27. As a result, Lu Cheng was 5 years younger than Lu Yanwei. When he entered the living room, the first thing he heard was the sound of the TV and cooking in the kitchen. A middle-aged man with white hair appeared in front of him. "Second dad, grandma and second aunt are in the kitchen?" He greeted with a smile. This was his second uncle, Lu Jiqiang. Well, the 3 siblings were called Jisheng, Jiqiang, and Jishin. "Yes. We're waiting for your mom to help." Lu Jiqiang nodded. "You're so capable. What else do you need me to help you with? What's the use of being a chef?" Lu Cheng's mother, Qi Fang, said sarcastically. Lu Jiqiang was the best relative she always talked about. Lu Jiqiang didn't study much and chose to be a soldier. He entered the cookhouse class. After he transferred, he got married and became a driver in the Xiaoshan City Health Bureau. As a car driver, he often got close to the leaders and had a good chance of becoming their confidant and getting a better career. However, the leaders changed again and again. After the other drivers left, he was still just a driver. In the words of his colleagues, this person had a bad mouth and was mean. Even if he didn't show it in front of the leaders, rumors would spread. Therefore, he was delayed again and again. Fortunately, he had gotten to know some people, so he decided to take a leave of absence and use his connections to contract a canteen. Because he was from the kitchen and had good culinary skills, coupled with his wife, Wang Lily, who was diligent and hardworking, he lived a prosperous life for the past few years. Lu Cheng's parents asked him for money during their most difficult time, but he refused. Moreover, Lu Cheng's grandparents felt that their eldest son was studying and had a promising future. They didn't need to take care of him. Their second son was not capable and needed help and subsidies. After 100 years, the house and inheritance would belong to him. Therefore, Lu Cheng's mother always complained. Of course, the responsibility of living together and taking care of the old couple was completely given to Lu Jiqiang and his wife. Hearing Qi Feng's sarcasm, Lu Jiqiang said embarrassedly, "There are more dishes to cook." In the past few years, the canteen business had declined, so he didn't contract a canteen anymore. His son was too troublesome, and the family's property was almost emptied. He was in a terrible fix, and his hair had turned white. He became taciturn and rarely spoke sarcastically. Although Qi Feng was sarcastic, she still went to the kitchen after a few sarcastic remarks. "Cheng, I'm going back to my room to play games. If I stay in the living room, I'll be nagged about my partner again." Lu Yanwei patted Lu Cheng on the shoulder and whispered, "You can't escape forever." Lu Cheng couldn't help but tease him. He had heard from his mother that his grandparents and second uncle thought that Lu Yanwei was too troublesome and wanted to find him a wife to control him and stabilize his temperament. "I'll live a carefree life as long as I can," Lu Yanwei replied with grief and indignation. After watching him enter the room, Lu Cheng turned to the sofa and called the old man sitting at the head of the table, "Grandpa." This hale and hearty white-haired old man was his grandfather, Lu Dong. He was partial to his second son and loved his grandson very much. Seeing Lu Cheng come over, he smiled and said, "How's life in school? Come on, have some strawberries." Sure enough, they're a family. They all ask the same questions. Lu Cheng thought to himself. He casually talked about school and then turned to a middle-aged woman coming out of the kitchen. He smiled and said, "Aunt, where's Cece?" "She's lying in the guest room. You can talk to her. Her grades have declined recently. I'll be satisfied if she's half as obedient as you are." Lu Zhixin sighed. As a primary school teacher, she didn't teach her daughter well. Lu Cheng agreed readily. "Hey, where's Uncle?" Jiala kept saying that he wanted to buy a hand cannon, so I took him to the supermarket nearby. Lu Zhixin pointed outside the window. Ma Jiala was their youngest son, just 7 years old. He was 9 years younger than their eldest daughter, Ma Shi. Lu Cheng stood up and walked to the guest room. He saw a girl of 15 or 16 years old lying on the bed, playing with her mobile phone in the dim light. "Cece, why don't you say hello to me?" Lu Cheng smiled at the rebellious girl. Ma Shi looked cute with neat bangs. She pouted and said, "My mom must have asked you to come in and tell me to study hard, right?" "Okay, I won't say anything." Lu Cheng sat on the bed. "Why are you sulking here?" He could tell at a glance that his cousin was unhappy. Ma Shi's facial features were ordinary, but she was full of youthfulness. She said bitterly, "I don't want to go out and look at them. Ma Jiala, I think Ma Jiabao is better." Lu Cheng smiled and shook his head. "You're angry because of this?" Without waiting for Ma Shi's reply, he continued, "To be honest, my mom often complains that my grandparents are biased and that they always care about the house. But in my heart, I always feel that it's not a big deal. Especially recently, when I went abroad to study for half a semester and saw a lot of things, I don't take it to heart. I have hands and feet, I can study and I'm talented. Why should I care about that little thing? My vision is broadened and my ambition is higher, so I don't care about many things. That's right, in just 10 days, I've earned 15,000 yuan. Yes, the champion's prize for a professional 9th pin to 8th pin challenge tournament was more than 100,000 yuan. If he entered the professional martial arts circle and became a high-ranked expert, he wouldn't care about a house in a small city." "Second brother, what are you trying to say?" Ma Shi listened with great interest, but she knew that Lu Cheng was not just talking about this. Because of what happened to her younger brother Ma Jiala, she didn't have a good relationship with her father's relatives. Instead, she felt that Lu Yanwei and Lu Cheng were her biological brothers. Lu Cheng snorted. "I'm telling you that it's useless to be angry. When you see more things, your vision is higher, and you're self-reliant, you won't care about your younger brother anymore. There's no need to fight over him. Your parents can love you, but you can love yourself." Ma Shi took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. "Second brother, what you said makes sense. For you to broaden your vision and have the ability to be self-reliant, the best and most possible way is to study. Study well and go to a big school in a big city. In the future, you'll have the ability to make a living. Lu Cheng was serious at first, but then he suddenly smiled and said, "So, study hard." Ma Shi was stunned and then raised her voice. "Well, you're beating around the bush, but you still want to talk about study. I'm just saying. It's up to you whether you want to listen or not." Lu Cheng stood up and slowly walked out of the guest room. Watching his back disappear, Ma Shi was in a daze. After a long time, she said to herself, "Study hard." Chapter 88. Back in the living room, Lu Cheng sat on the other side of the sofa. While listening to the adults chatting, he took out his phone and sent a message to Yenjika. "I've sent out the gifts. My parents like them very much. They said the design is very good." Yenjika said proudly with her teeth shining, "Look at whose taste it is." "That's right. Your taste is much better than mine." Lu Cheng complimented, "Coach Yen, please guide me in the future." Yenjika sent a shocked emoji. "What else do you want to learn other than martial arts?" "You're my life coach." Lu Cheng sent a snickering emoji. "You'll help me solve my single problem." Yenjika sent an emoji of touching its chin and pondering. "How can someone be your life mentor so casually? No matter what, we still have to pass the 81 trials." "What tests?" "I'm ready." Lu Cheng sent a roaring emoji. Yenjika sent an emoji rolling its eyes. "I haven't decided yet. Let's talk about it later." "All right then. Just now when my parents received the gift, they were saying, 'Aya, keep the money for yourself,' while clutching the clothes tightly, as if they were afraid that I would snatch it back." Lu Cheng diverted the topic. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed. "Adults are all like this. Although they say no, their bodies are very honest." While they were chatting casually, Lu Cheng listened to what his grandparents were talking about. At the same time, he sent New Year greetings to Kai Zhongming, Zhao Chang, Jiang Fei and other friends on QQ. At the same time, he browsed the Longhu Club forum. The forum was in a festive mood. Posts from friendly forum members were everywhere. Lu Cheng glanced through them and found the post of the little girl, Wonton Seller, replying to it with one sentence. Not long after, Wonton Seller, at him, "Little Tiger, why haven't I seen you online recently? Are you busier during the holidays?" "Yes, I'm busy. I'm busy with training, visiting relatives, and meeting my high school classmates. But I'm also browsing the forum, just lurking and not talking." Lu Cheng replied. Due to the poor learning environment in junior high school, he didn't have much in common with his classmates and had stopped contacting them. The remaining few were basically childhood friends like Wang Su from kindergarten to junior high school. Wonton Seller sent a funny emoji. "Are you here to wish everyone a Happy New Year?" "Happy New Year." Lu Cheng replied. Wonton Seller raised a big finger and shook it. "Insincere. Quick, join this group and send red envelopes to snatch them." Seeing this group ID, Lu Cheng copied it and switched to QQ. He chose to search and found that the group name was Longhu Club Forum Spam Group. After answering the verification question with the nickname Schrodinger's Tiger, Lu Cheng was quickly added. There were only about 30 people in the group, most of whom he was familiar with. For example, the forum moderator, Pig Riding Knight, Wonton Seller, Above the Sky, a plumber eating mushrooms, Aquamarine, Brahmin, Unparalleled Dragon King, Okamoto's Love, Invincible Punch, Road to the Arena, and so on. Lu Cheng chuckled softly and sent a red packet of 20 RMB. In the blink of an eye, all the red packets were received. Pig Riding Knight said, "Welcome, little tiger. How's your martial arts training going?" "Not bad. I'm almost at the professional level." Lu Cheng deliberately sent a laughing emoji with arms akimbo. Road to the Arena laughed. "You have to explain the specific meaning of the word fast. In terms of the scale of the universe, 3 to 5 years is unimaginably fast." The others joked one after another. The atmosphere was quite lively. Just then, Brahmin sent a red packet with 20 red packets of 10 yuan. Lu Cheng was inexperienced in snatching red packets. He missed the red packet as he was chatting with Yenjika. He had to look at Brahman's profile picture. She must have used a picture of herself. Her hair was braided on both sides, hanging in front of her body. She had delicate features and looked quite cute. She's really a kid in the first grade. Lu Cheng whispered to himself. He had heard on the forum that Brahman had just graduated from primary school and looked very childish. Her post seemed to confirm this, but he couldn't be sure after seeing the picture with his own eyes. Those who have received my red packet, go and support this post for me. Brahman sent a whip-waving emoji with a link to the post. Although he didn't get a red packet, Lu Cheng clicked on it out of curiosity. He saw the title, Lu Cheng Forum is here to give a New Year's greeting. Welcome to visit again and increase your popularity, Lu Cheng Forum. What the hell is this? Lu Cheng's mouth was half open. He was stunned. There is such a thing as Lu Cheng Forum? He was stunned for a moment and clicked on the link in the post. The new forum page opened. The first thing he saw was his own picture standing in the arena. Damn, it's really my forum. When was it set up? Lu Cheng was surprised, excited, and happy at the same time. He looked down at the introductory text of the forum. This is the private forum of Lu Cheng of the Martial Arts Club of Songqing University. Everything about him is recorded here. Welcome to join us and protect his growth. Protect. Lu Cheng muttered to himself. He looked at the moderator position and saw an ID called Eternal Nightfall, while the deputy moderator was called Brahman. She really sees me as her new idol? For a moment, Lu Cheng was a little proud and complacent. He swiped and clicked on the top post, about Lu Cheng. In the main post, Eternal Nightfall wrote, Lu Cheng is a student of Songqing University and a member of the Martial Arts Club. He participated in the first Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge tournament and got the 8th place as a fighter with no rank. He defeated 2 mighty ones of professional 9th pin. Below are the videos, photos and links to related news. He is a boy who smiles foolishly. I feel that he should be a very warm person and definitely very considerate. But when he stands on the arena, he is filled with confidence. He is crazy and ferocious, extremely handsome. I am his second fan. I hope to record every detail of his growth. The second post was a reply from Brahman. In my mind, Lu Cheng was a very mysterious master until I saw this video of him. But this doesn't stop me from liking him. Once a silly boy is in the arena, he can bloom with dazzling brilliance and defeat strong opponents. Isn't that more mysterious and charming? I am his first fan. I hope to accompany him as he grows. Lu Cheng's expression became softer and softer as he read, and his smile became more and more obvious. But he said, this dark history spreads fast. After exiting the top post, he saw the videos, photos and related news of the Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge tournament. They were classified and organized very clearly. They were more complete than his own. In addition to these posts, there was also a return visit post from Pig Riding Night and a puzzled post from Eternal Nightfall. She said that the number of visitors recorded in the back end had increased recently, but why were only the 2 of them still paying attention to them? Brahman guessed that it was the result of her advertising everywhere. At the same time, Eternal Nightfall posted all over the place, saying that she would die if there was no new news from Lu Cheng. At the end of the page, there were the posts of the 2 moderators fighting for the title of the first fan. Lu Cheng read them one by one. The more he read, the more obvious his smile became. Using the words of a novel to describe it, his heart was warm, full and full. He originally wanted to follow the post, but after thinking about it, he decided that it was better to just watch silently. He didn't want to disturb the 2 little guys talking to themselves. He just posted a post in the return visit post of Pig Riding Night. He exited the forum and came to the group. He to Brahman. I've visited her. I feel that your moderator is very young. About the same age as you? Brahman used 10 times the size of a smiley face and said, thank you, little tiger. Little Nightfall, I feel that she is younger than me. She should be a primary school student. I am her father. Primary school student? Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. Did he have the potential to attract Lolis? One is the moderator, the other is the deputy moderator. Neither of them is 14 years old. In the warm room, Yan Xiaoling was browsing the forum. Suddenly, she sneezed and said to herself, "Who is talking about me?" She quickly collected her thoughts and thought about a very important thing. Well, I've decided to enter the School of Arts of Songqing University this year. When it was almost time for dinner, Lu Cheng's uncle, Ma Guiqin, finally came back with his youngest son, Ma Jiala. "Uncle, where have you been? You took so long?" Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Ma Guiqin pretended to be angry and said, "This kid is too naughty. He bought a hand cannon and wanted to shoot it immediately. I had to accompany him." He used to be a colleague of Lu Cheng's father, Lu Jisheng, and worked as a driver in a truck team. After the company went bankrupt, he was bold enough to ask a few of his colleagues to help him with long-distance freight transportation. It was very tiring, but he also made some money. In recent years, after the rise of online car hailing, he simply quit and bought a car with his savings. At the same time, he also worked part-time as a personal assistant. Speaking of which, most of Lu Cheng's family came from that bankrupt company, which was also a characteristic of that era. Fortunately, when the company went bankrupt, Lu Cheng's grandfather and grandmother had already retired and transferred their pension to them, so they were not too affected. For a period of time, Lu Cheng's family was very poor. He went to his grandfather's house every 2 or 3 days to have a good meal. Second uncle Lu Jiqiang was not mean and treated him well. At the dinner table, the family, who had gotten rid of their previous predicament, no longer looked worried. They talked and laughed, and the atmosphere was lively and warm. Even Lu Yanwei, who had just closed the restaurant, felt relieved. After all, they didn't owe him money, did they? At least they had a job, right? Seeing this scene, Lu Cheng's grandfather and grandmother rubbed their eyes, feeling very sentimental. The old couple was also very interesting. When Lu Cheng was a child, he knew that his grandmother had a bad temper and his grandfather was in charge of everything at home. However, in recent years his grandfather's temper had become more and more eccentric. His grandmother, on the other hand, was much kinder, but she was in charge of everything at home. The family ate and chatted, and sat together to accompany the old people to watch the TV show. At 10 o'clock, Lu Cheng's family of 3 got up and left. They had planned to call a taxi, but Uncle Ma Guiqin gave them a ride, which saved them a lot of trouble. Lu Cheng first sat on the sofa and continued to chat with his parents and watch TV. When he heard the sound of firecrackers around 11:40, he got up and went to the balcony. He pulled out his phone's contact list and called Yenjika. The reason why he called so early was to avoid any unexpected changes. What if Yenjika had other calls around midnight? "Hello, Ching?" Yenjika's familiar soft and clear voice came through. Lu Cheng deliberately said excitedly, "I have something to tell you. I just called Coach Sher to wish him a happy new year. He proposed the actual combat training plan for next semester." Actual combat training? Yenjika suddenly became excited. Lu Cheng laughed and said, "He said that I've reached the level of a quasi-professional. With your cousin and your growth, we can form a team to participate in the preliminaries after the new year." Preliminaries? Yenjika's voice slightly raised, revealing obvious excitement and excitement. "I can't believe we can participate in the preliminaries." "Yes, I was also like that." That was a surging emotion. Lu Cheng said from the heart. At this time, Yenjika's voice suddenly lowered a bit. "I don't know if I have a chance to participate. I don't know if my current level is enough to be a substitute. You've made some progress in meditation, and you have a good foundation. Plus your family's kung fu. I think it won't be a problem for you to reach the level of amateur third pin after the new year. You can be a substitute." Lu Cheng hurried to comfort her. "Well, I have to work harder. I'll get up early on the first day of the new year to train and make a good start," Yenjika said with hatred. Lu Cheng could almost imagine her clenched fist and pouting mouth. He couldn't help but smile. "By the way, what's your cousin's level now?" He changed the topic in order to stall for time and wait for midnight. As expected, Yenjika's attention was diverted. She pondered for a while and said, He's training like crazy. Grandpa said his qi and blood have reached the peak of this level. The next step is to converge his qi and blood to become one. This process may take at least a few months, or at most 3 to 5 years. She didn't mention the possibility of failure. She was very confident in Lin Quebec. Lu Cheng followed along and started the conversation. Unknowingly, time flew by. Suddenly, the sound of firecrackers broke out around them. It was so loud that he couldn't hear anything else. The same sound came from the phone. It was 12 o'clock. New Year's Eve was over, and New Year's Day was coming. After a few minutes, the sound of firecrackers weakened. Lu Cheng was happy that the call was not cut off. He heard the light breathing sound on the other side of the phone. He thought Yenjika could hear him too. Hearing the sound of her breathing, he calmed down and felt peaceful and happy. Leaning against the wall, he pursed his lips and whispered with a smile, "Happy New Year." The other side of the phone replied with a smile and whispered back, "Happy New Year." Warmth grew and joy echoed. Looking at the brilliant fireworks outside, Lu Cheng added in a low voice, "Happy New Year." Yenjika replied with a smile, "You should be happy too." Her voice wasn't loud, but it seemed to scratch Lu Cheng's heart. They didn't say anything unnecessary. They quietly listened to each other's breathing and the sound of firecrackers to get rid of the old and welcome the new. It was the first year again. After a while, Yenjika said, "Are you still going to practice tomorrow?" "Of course. I won't get seriously ill. If there are no accidents, I have to persevere. The new year needs a better start. Besides, you have to get up early to practice. You can't lose to your example." Lu Cheng replied with a smile. Suddenly, Yenjika said fiercely, "Then why don't you go to bed? You have to get up at 5:30. Look at the time." Being scolded like this, Lu Cheng didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed and said, "I'm waiting to say Happy New Year to you." "Well, I have to go to bed too." "Wake up early, wake up early." Yenjika murmured and raised her voice. "Cheng, good night. Coach Yen, good night too. Sweet dreams." Lu Cheng smiled and waited for Yenjika to hang up first. Back in the living room, he was overjoyed. Seeing his parents, he blurted out, "Dad, Mom, Happy New Year. I'm really happy. P.S. It seems that Shang Sanjiang has been rejected. I don't know if there are any Sanjiang tickets in Sanjiang now. If there are, please give me one." Chapter 89. Lu Cheng's parents were confused by Lu Cheng's sudden blessing. They stared at him blankly and didn't respond, as if they were hallucinating. After a few seconds, Lu Cheng's mother, Qi Fong, laughed and said, "Why are you saying this to your family? Do you have to be so polite?" "It's just a whim." Lu Cheng laughed and said, "I'm going to take a shower and sleep. I'll continue training tomorrow morning." He complained in his heart. Sure enough, after growing up, he was treated differently from when he was a child. One of the things that his mother always bragged about was that when he was learning how to speak, he would suddenly follow the people on TV and wish them a Happy New Year. But now, such words were not surprising, only frightening. Hearing that Lu Cheng was going to get up early to train on the first day of Chinese New Year, Qi Fong felt sorry for him. "It's Chinese New Year. Rest for a few days. It's already so late. Lack of sleep is bad for your body. It's okay, it's okay." He took out the red packets he had received today and put them into his wallet. His grandparents had given every child except Lu Yanwei 500 yuan. His second father and his aunt had given him 500 yuan each, which added up to 1,500 yuan. This was the main source of his secret savings. His parents had given him 500 yuan each. Ma Shi and Ma Jiala had given him 500 yuan each, and his grandparents had given him 1,500 yuan each. This was the main source of his secret savings. His parents, on the other hand, had given Ma Shi and Ma Jiala 500 yuan each, and his grandparents 1,000 yuan each. After a shower, he adjusted his breathing and entered a meditative state to avoid insomnia due to excitement. With a clear mind, Lu Cheng soon fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, the alarm clock rang. He changed his clothes, brushed his teeth, and washed his face. He was full of energy. He sent a message to Yenjika saying, "The handsome one is up." Then he took his phone and keys and left the house. The sky was still dark, the clouds had accumulated, and the street lights were dim. Lu Qing faced the piercing cold wind and jogged on the quiet and empty road to the People's Park. Occasionally, he could see the cleaners cleaning up the remains of yesterday's firecrackers. That was the last trace of a grand carnival. When he arrived at his destination, there was a glimmer of light in the sky. But because it was the first day of Chinese New Year, the place was not as crowded as usual. Only a few old men were still training, so he didn't have to go to the other side of the artificial lake and easily found a secluded place. Yin-yang stance, condensation stance, training routine, 24 blizzard strikes, lightning and fire stance, big and small hand wrap. A new year must have a good start. Inside the Gushan Martial Arts School, Dai Linfeng, Qin Rui, and the others were sleeping all over the place. Beer bottles and bowls with leftovers could be seen everywhere. If it wasn't for the heating and blankets in this room, one or two of them would have frozen to death. Dai Linfeng's phone kept vibrating, waking him up from his deep sleep. He rubbed his head and looked around blankly, as if he had amnesia. When he picked up his phone, he finally remembered why he was sleeping here. It was New Year's Eve last night. After spending the New Year with his family, he received a call from Qin Rui and the other senior and junior brothers, saying that they wanted everyone to stay up late and be happy, so that they could relax for the selection competition after the New Year. "Hey, Xiaofei. What's the matter? Why are you calling so early?" He saw that the caller was Tao Xiaofei, the playboy. Outside the window, the sky was just getting bright. Tao Xiaofei lowered his voice. He was a little excited and nervous. "Brother Feng, guess who I saw? I saw the guy who bumped into you that day. Didn't you say that he played a trick on you and made you lose the competition?" Dai Linfeng was shocked. Without waiting for him to finish, he asked, "How did you see him? Where did you see him?" According to his master, that guy was probably of professional ninth pin. A professional ninth pin with supernatural ability or some kind of strange, unique skill. Tao Xiaofei answered quickly. "Last night, after our family celebrated Chinese New Year, I went out to the bar again. Then I heard that there were some new girls in Crown's bar, so I went there with them and played until dawn. I took one out and planned to have some car sex with her at the nearby Tongxiu River. Then I saw that guy practicing on the embankment. Yes, it must be him. I remember that feeling very clearly. Brother Feng, do you want to take revenge? Take your brothers and surround him. 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. What can he do?" He seemed to be very interested in this kind of thing and found it very exciting. At this time, Qin Rui and another disciple were awakened by him. They looked over in a daze. Dai Linfeng waved his hand to signal them to be quiet. He said to Tao Xiaofei in a low voice, "Stay away from him first. Don't let him find out. I have to ask my master about this kind of thing." At the peak of the body refining state, it was indeed difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. 5 or 6 amateur third pin masters were enough to surround him and kill him. Even ordinary people with knives and daggers would stand a chance if they had more people. But the question was, how many casualties could they withstand? How much would they be willing to pay? For example, if 5 or 6 amateur third pin masters wanted to surround and kill a professional ninth pin fighter, they would have to sacrifice at least half of them. This was without considering the collapse of morale. Dai Linfeng didn't want to see his fellow disciples die in front of him, not to mention dealing with the aftermath that gave him a headache just thinking about it. Therefore, he was worried about direct revenge and decided to discuss it with his master, Chu Weikai. He quickly hung up the phone. Without looking at Qin Rui and the others, he dialed his master's phone. Chu Weicai's qi and blood began to decline. He slept early and woke up early. At this time, he was already eating longevity noodles on the first day of the new year. He picked up the phone and said hello. "Master, I have a friend who saw that professional ninth pin. He's still in Xiushan." Dai Linfeng said concisely. Chu Weikai put down the chopsticks in his right hand and lightly tapped the table. After a moment of silence, he said, "Don't get involved in this matter. The storms of the Jianghu aren't something you can handle right now. Just give Zhang Mingle a call and tell him the news. Yes, master. Dai Linfeng answered respectfully and then searched for Zhang Mingle's spare number. Zhang Mingle was the famous Master Lu in the underworld circle of Xiushan. He used to practice martial arts with his master and was an amateur first pin master in his heyday. However, after years of smoking, drinking, money and sex, it was hard to say what level he was still at. But his two subordinates, Zhang Biao and He Wei, were not easy to deal with either of them. They were taught by his master and restrained. If he faced any one of them, he only had a 60 to 70% chance of winning. As for his master, he used to be a professional 9th pin master in his prime. He was muddle-headed and mingled in the underworld circle of Xiushan and became one of the few big bosses. However, he was plotted against in a dispute and was seriously injured. Since then, he had no hope of reaching the Dan stage. He was deeply regretful and quit. Today, he often said that if it weren't for his frivolity, he would have developed the martial arts club and left Xiushan. He found the number and dialed it. After a few rings, Dai Linfeng heard Zhang Mingle's familiar voice. Hey, Junior Dai, why are you looking for me so early in the morning? I have a friend who saw that professional 9th pin master. He's still in Xiushan, Dai Linfeng said. There was a moment of silence on the other side of the phone. Then a suppressed voice came. He hasn't left yet? Where is he? He's practicing on the embankment behind the Crown Bar on Tongxiu River, Dai Linfeng said honestly. Junior Dai, as your brother, I'm very grateful. You don't have to worry about this. I'll take care of it. Zhang Mingle exhaled. After ending the call, Dai Linfeng met the eyes of Qin Rui and other brothers. He laughed and said, Tao Xiaofei saw that professional 9th pin master who bumped into me. But our master told us not to get involved and let Master Le handle it. Qin Rui was young and full of curiosity. He took a breath and said, Senior Dai, we won't get involved, but we can go and watch. We can meet with Tao Xiaofei and hide in the car to see how Master Lu will deal with that guy. Dai Linfeng was stunned and nodded slightly. Okay, let's go find Tao Xiaofei. It was this guy who made him lose face in front of the chairman and caused the martial arts club to lose this year's resources. In a secret hiding place, Zhang Mingle, who was half lying on the bed, gripped his phone tightly. His facial muscles were twisted and looked extremely ferocious. He was still wrapped in bandages and dripping. That F** King Jian Laosen, he won't stop. Damn it, he still dares to stay in Xiushan. Does he really think I'm a sick cat? He gritted his teeth. That professional 9th pin master hid in Xiushan for so many days. It went without saying why. That guy wanted to try again when he felt safe. Zhang Mingle gritted his teeth when he thought of that kick and almost died. But when he saw Zhang Wei and He Biao coming in from outside, he calmed down. One of his two Vajras was on crutches and the other was tied up like a mummy. It would take at least 3 to 5 months for them to recover. He took a breath, picked up the phone and called the other men. Su Zai, come over here for a while. Be careful, don't be followed. We'll talk about the details later. 15 minutes later, the 5 of them, led by Wang Su, gathered at the hiding spot. This was also thanks to the fact that the road was empty early in the morning. Zhang Mingle said seriously, that professional 9th pin master has been found. He's still in Xiushan. We can't take this lying down. We have to teach them a lesson. As he spoke, he opened the box in front of him, revealing 5 black handguns shining with a metallic luster. Then he looked at Wang Su and the other 5 and said, These are goods from the south. They're of good quality. You've tested them many times. Today, they'll come in handy. Take them and kill that guy. I'll take care of the rest. When the time comes, you guys can go into hiding and come back in 1 or 2 years. Anyway, whether you succeed or not, I guarantee you won't be short of money for the rest of your life. Wang Su's expression changed slightly. Then he straightened his back under Zhang Mingle's gaze and said, Don't worry, Master Lu. Leave it to us. Good. The rest of you, leave your phones here in case the news gets leaked. If there are any changes, I'll tell Su Zai. After the raid on the bar, Wang Su had entered Zhang Mingle's inner circle. This time, he was able to keep his phone as a communication tool. Coming out of the hiding place, they came to the back of the Crown Bar. From afar, they saw someone practicing boxing on the embankment. Suddenly, Wang Su's heart tightened. He didn't feel safe. 5 men with 5 guns seemed to be very powerful. There was a high possibility that they could kill that professional 9th pin master. But they were gangsters, not policemen, soldiers, or killers. It was normal for them to touch a gun once every 2 or 3 months. To suddenly attack a professional 9th pin master, they were not sure. And the attack of a professional 9th pin master was quite terrifying. He might not be able to withstand a punch or kick. He looked at the terrain and said to the other 4 men, "We can't go directly. The view on the embankment is broad. He can find us from far away. Once he escapes, we can't catch up with him. It's better to wait for an opportunity on his way back." Yes, Brother Su is right. The others agreed. Seeing this, Wang Su picked up his phone and said to the other men, "I'll report to Master Lu." Slightly turning his back to the others, he dialed Lu Cheng's number first. "Hello, hello. That professional 9th pin master is indeed on the embankment of the Tongxiu River behind the Crown Bar. We don't dare to approach. Hello, hello, we are afraid of being discovered. Hello, hello, there's no problem with the guns. We plan to ambush him on his way back. Hello, hello, what kind of broken signal is this?" Wang Su pretended to hang up the phone and dialed again. This time, it was the real Zhang Mingle. In a secluded place in People's Park, Lu Cheng held his phone and pursed his lips. He was worried and angry at the same time. Do I have the ability to get involved with a professional 9th pin master who is involved in gangs, guns, and secret mental skills? I'm just a freaking freshman. Wang Su, you are trying to kill me. Do you think I owe you something? Why do you need me for this kind of thing? If you knew this, why didn't you listen to my advice? While thinking, he really wanted to press the button on his phone and say, "Hello, is this a police call?" But after thinking for a moment, he gave up on doing so directly. Gangs definitely had protection in the police system. It was easy for them to leak information. This was equivalent to selling Wang Su out. Therefore, he had to find a trustworthy police officer. Although he had no connections, he could ask others for help. First, Yenjika had mentioned that her grandfather had many disciples in the police force. She and her mother lived in Xioshan, so it was natural for them to know a few local police officers with real power. Second, his master was a former mighty one with physical invulnerability. He had a well-developed network and seemed to be in a high position. He could even interfere with the preliminaries. It was normal for him to have connections with the police force, where fighters held real power. Who should he find? This was a problem. But no matter what, he couldn't recklessly get involved in this kind of thing. He had a good relationship with Wang Su, but he didn't need to risk his life for him. He was not Yenjika, nor was he his parents. P.S. Updated in advance on Monday. Please recommend Sanjiang tickets. Chapter 90. Who should I find? All of a sudden, Lu Cheng's mind was filled with this question. Normally speaking, it would be the most reasonable choice to ask Yenjika for help because her family was also a native of Xioshan. If she had a good relationship with the local police force, she would probably know the background of Lu and Jian Lao San so that she could avoid those protective shields and find the most suitable candidate. But there were 3 drawbacks. First, it was not Yenjika's own relationship. Even if she agreed, she would have to ask her mother or even her grandfather for help. If there was a turnover in the middle, she might be delayed or rejected. The second reason was that he usually asked Yenjika for help. It was a good thing to increase the contact between them and build feelings through interaction. He enjoyed it, but he always felt embarrassed to ask for help from her family. Maybe this was the so-called self-esteem. Third, even if Yenjika's mother and grandfather agreed, it was inevitable that they would have a bad impression of him. For example, if he was involved with the mafia, a decadent youth who was not willing to learn good things, or a troublesome guy who broke the rules with martial arts, how could he come to visit them in the future? How could he meet his father-in-law and mother-in-law? How could he pass this test? If one did not consider the future, there would be immediate worries. After thinking about this, Lu Qing quickly made a decision and dialed his master's number. While waiting for the call to be answered, he couldn't help but praise himself. I really think far ahead. Even if I haven't taken any shape yet. Hey, shouldn't you be practicing martial arts at this time? Did something go wrong? Soon, Geezer Shi's slightly puzzled voice came from the receiver. It was urgent, so Lu Qing didn't beat around the bush and said directly, "Master, I need your help. I have a childhood friend." He told Geezer Shi about Wang Su in a few words and explained the cause and effect clearly. Geezer Shi coughed twice and said, "Not bad. You know how to call me instead of rushing over to get involved. This shows that you still have some brains. Otherwise, this old man wouldn't have accepted such an idiot as my disciple. I'll help you find him. Wait for my call." "Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master." Lu Qing thanked him repeatedly. This was already a great favor for Wang Su. A few minutes later, Geezer Shi called back with a slightly smug tone. "I, your master, am in charge. Isn't this a piece of cake? Remember this phone number and call him directly. He is the deputy director of the Xioshan police station, who is in charge of the underworld affairs. Don't worry. No matter whether the two sides have connections with him or not, how can he have a stronger connection than your master? There are some things that he knows how to do. Master, you're really amazing. You really have a wide circle of friends." Lu Qing sincerely praised. He squatted down and slid his finger on the soil to write a number. Then he hurriedly dialed it. After a short ringtone, a steady and magnetic voice came from the other side. "Hello, is this Lu?" Yes. "Hello, Director Xing." Lu Qing was stunned. "Has my master already mentioned me to you?" Director Xing laughed heartily and said, "I've heard a lot about Senior Shi. Lu, let me ask you a few details. Just now, your teacher gave a brief explanation." Lu Qing said happily in his heart. After 3 or 4 details, Director Xing laughed and said, "Lu, don't worry. Leave this to me. I'll take care of it. If I can't get in touch with him, I'll lead the team directly." "Thank you, Director Xing." Lu Qing was a little relieved and then called Wang Su back. Based on his knowledge of the surroundings, Wang Su had confirmed that the professional 9th pin fighter lived in one of the old residential areas behind the Crown Bar. So, he waited for an opportunity at the intersection of the street and the road leading to the embankment. Because it was the first day of the new year, most of the breakfast stalls here were not open. Only 1 or 2 that had to rely on this for a living were still open, providing hot food for the people who had played all night in the bar nearby. Wang Su and 4 thugs were pretending to be passers-by, sitting around a simple table, watching the white-haired stall owner cook noodles in a big iron pot. The cold wind blowing through the street was bone-chilling. The phone rang. Wang Su glanced at it and his face changed slightly. Then he immediately put on a smile and said, "Hello. What can I do for you?" With the experience of the last call, Lu Qing was not surprised. He said calmly, "I've called the police. I asked someone to find a trustworthy police." His solution was to scare off both sides with the arrival of the police, in case something irreparable happened. Even if Wang Su was arrested with his relationship with Director Xing, and the gun did not belong to him, it was still possible to fight for a lenient sentence. At that time, he would not dare to follow Lu anymore. As for the professional 9th pin fighter with the secret mental skill, since he had been exposed and attracted a large number of police, he would not dare to continue to stay in Xioshan. All his schemes would have to be put on hold. Things would calm down. The only problem was whether Lu would suspect Wang Su of leaking the information and do harm to him. He could only rely on Director Xing's plan. As a freshman, he really could not take care of everything. Hearing this, Wang Su frowned. This was not what he had expected. But now, he could only accept it. After all, no matter what, it was better than fighting to the death with a professional 9th pin master. If he was not careful, he would really die, and there would be no tomorrow. If he hadn't witnessed the terror of a professional 9th pin fighter during the raid on the bar, with his usual hot-blooded courage and willingness to risk his life, he might have had the guts to do it. Okay. We'll be patient and wait. When the time comes, We'll try to solve it in 2 or 3 moves. Wang Su answered with a respectful look. He glanced at the 4 thugs beside him and glanced at their faces one by one. He noticed the cool earrings, the tattoos on their necks, heavy eye bags, and slightly trembling bodies. In the People's Park, Lu Cheng moved the phone away from his ear and fell into deep thought again. Normally, to do this, he had used up a lot of favors, so he had a clear conscience. But after all, he was still worried that something bad would happen. For example, Director Xing could not get in touch with the professional 9th pin fighter, so he could not directly scare the professional 9th pin fighter away and put an end to the matter. For example, before the police arrived, 2 groups of people would meet on a narrow road. Lu Cheng paced back and forth, took a deep breath and exhaled. He walked out of the park and planned to take a taxi to the Crown Bar. Well, I won't get close. I'll hide and watch. I won't interfere. I'll see if I have a chance to help Wang Su at the critical moment. If not, I won't take the risk. And in the early morning of the first day of the new year, online taxis were rare. If he could not make it, it could only be said that Wang Su had done his best and had a clear conscience. A black car drove across the road and stopped in front of the BMW 7 Series. Dai Linfeng took out his phone and called Tao Xiaofei. Xiaofei, did you see us? Brother Feng, when are we going to do it? Tao Xiaofei sat in the driver's seat and hugged a woman in disheveled clothes. He was very excited. From Dai Linfeng's seat, he could see the figure practicing boxing on the embankment. He could also see the streets of several old residential areas and the steaming iron pot on the right. He had a good view and said cautiously, "If we don't do it, someone else will do it." Xiaofei, will he be alerted if we stop here? Don't worry, Brother Feng. There are many cars parked here. Who will be suspicious? Tao Xiaofei said casually. In the black car, Qin Rui, who had to lower his head and shrink his back to sit, looked in the direction of the embankment and whispered, "It's really that guy." I don't know how Lu is going to teach him a lesson. He was very curious about this and also a little excited like Tao Xiaofei. As time went by, Lu Cheng appeared on the other side of the street. After he left the People's Park, he met a taxi not long after and soon it arrived at the nearby area. Looking at the figure of the breakfast stall at the intersection, he did not go closer. He put his hands in his pockets and hid in the shadow of the road, waiting for the police with a distance of about 50 meters between them. Hope nothing unexpected happens. Wang Su was also looking forward to the police and praying to God. However, God did not seem to hear his voice. The wolf-like professional 9th pin came back along the road. He was dressed in a black training suit, looking capable and valiant. His eyes flickered with a cold light as he glanced around from time to time, as if he was already used to this. Dai Linfeng, Qin Rui, Tao Xiaofei, and the others subconsciously held their breaths. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly for fear of being discovered. The dark film of the window blocked the view. The professional 9th pin man glanced at the several parked cars and turned into the street. In front of him was the noodle stall and the familiar iron pot that he saw every day. Around the simple table sat 5 young men who seemed to be gangsters. Did they just come out of the bar? The man in the black exercise suit sized them up. He could not help but squint because the 5 of them looked a little nervous. 2 of them did not even have a hangover. Wang Su was also nervous. He cursed in his heart why the police were not here yet. He put his hand down and touched the gun at his waist. At this point he had to take action. Otherwise, how could he bear Li's anger later? If he did not dare to take action without a reason, it would be a light punishment if his hands and feet were broken. He exchanged glances with the other 4 and nodded slightly. Suddenly, they stood up together, pulled out their pistols and aimed at the dangerous professional 9th pin man. The distance between them was less than 5 meters. With their little practice, it was enough for them to hit him. At this moment, the man in the black exercise suit suddenly shouted. His eyes flashed with a green light and his momentum rose. Wang Su and the 4 thugs felt as if they were in the open wilderness facing a terrifying giant wolf. Their bodies and minds trembled and paused. A short pause was the difference between life and death. Instead of retreating, the man in the black exercise suit moved forward as fast as an arrow. He rushed to the front of the five in a few big strides. His muscles contracted, he leaned sideways and lowered his shoulder. He suddenly burst out and hit the thug with the earring, knocking the gun in his hand to the ground and breaking the bones between his chest and abdomen. The thug let out a painful howl. With a crack, the thug flew backward and hit Wang Su and the other two thugs. They staggered a few steps and could not shoot at all. It was as if everything was calculated. At the same time, the man in black exercise clothes used his back as an axis and gathered all the strength in his body. He leaned to the side to avoid any possible random shots. He tightened his thigh muscles, and with a bang, he took the opportunity to whip his leg upward. He straightened his instep and kicked high into the air, right in the temple of the tattooed fighter who did not retreat. Bang! The strength poured in and suddenly exploded. The tattooed thug felt his brain explode and instantly lost consciousness. Under this terrifying strength, his two eyeballs burst out and fell into the big iron pot, staining the bubbling water red. This, Qin Ri, Tao Xiaofei, and the others were trembling with fear as if they had encountered a demon from hell. It was not terrible to kick a person to death with a whip leg. What was terrible was to squeeze the eyeballs out of their sockets. What kind of terrifying power was this? Wang Su and the other two thugs stood firm and did not care about their companions. They only slightly aimed and pulled the trigger together. Bang, bang, bang. 3 loud sounds like firecrackers burst out, but the man in the black exercise suit suddenly disappeared. He fell to the ground with the momentum of the kick and rolled forward to avoid the 3 bullets. After a roll, he had already arrived in front of the thug with heavy eye bags. He did not get up, but straightened his back, pressed his left hand down, and clenched his right hand into a fist. He fiercely punched between the thug's legs. Bang! The thug with heavy eye bags screamed miserably and dropped his gun. He covered his crotch with both hands and rolled on the ground. Blood and urine kept flowing out. Seeing this situation, Wang Su, who had failed to shoot, and the thug, who was already trembling a little, lost all courage. Their companion's eyeballs flew out, his face with a black hole mixed with blood, and the flowing urine instantly flashed in their minds. Without any thinking, driven by instinct, they collapsed and fled to the other side of the street in panic. They did not seize the best opportunity with the guns in their hands. The man in the black exercise suit saw this and sighed. He had reached his limit in the fight just now. If the other party had not been scared away, he would not have stood up and lost his mobility. He was afraid that he would have to take 1 or 2 bullets. As for whether he would die, be disabled, or be lucky not to be hit, he could only leave it to fate. He stood up like a carp and picked up the big iron pot in front of the boss who was paralyzed with fear. He rushed forward and poured the pot in front of him. Wang Su and the remaining thugs were drenched by the boiling water. They screamed and fell to the ground. The man in black exercise clothes threw away the iron pot and caught up with them in large strides. Viciousness appeared on his face. He kicked the remaining thug's throat with his strength from his shoulder to his waist, from his waist to his legs, and from his legs to his toes. The scream stopped abruptly. The man in the black exercise suit looked gloomy and kicked again at Wang Su. Bang! A foot appeared in his line of sight, blocking the fatal kick. He raised his head and saw a teenager in a white martial arts suit with black edges. Lu Cheng. In the car, Qin Rui suddenly sat up straight and hit his head on the roof. P.S. Please recommend Sanjiang tickets. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.